Chapter 33-24. There are some things that you can't just think about. At this moment, Bai Ying had a certain degree of vigilance against Su Yun. He began to realize that the man in front of him might have a strong background. Su Yun responded softly and nodded. Well said. There are some things that I can't just think about. The same goes for you. Some people's crimes can't be washed away just because you want to. Bai Ying was still confident about this. I'm a lawyer. I'm the best lawyer here, so I advise you not to think too much. Excessive modesty is a kind of pride, and excessive self-confidence is a kind of ignorance. Su Yun smiled slightly. Now, are you going to find the leaders of the judicial system to have a drink? Looking for some big shots who are familiar with the court to talk about old times? Bai Ying's face turned black immediately. He didn't expect Su Yun to be familiar with their line of work. He knew that many times, what they sold in their line of work was not eloquence. Take Bai Ying for example. In the beginning, he was able to win the case because of his eloquence and luck. Slowly, he realized that luck could not always be his advantage. Then, he began to sell his connections. When his fame and connections came out, could he still lose? Bai Ying had always believed that all the systems and rules made by people could be flexible. As long as there was a person to control something, anything could be solved. People knew how to be flexible. They knew how to be flexible more than any creature on earth. That was why people could rule the earth and trample other animals under their feet. Otherwise, how could people become the overlord of the earth with such a mediocre situation? This was not only because of intelligence. A large part of the reason was that people knew how to be flexible. This was human nature. Looking at other animals, their natural abilities and natural consciousness, weren't they stronger than humans? Why couldn't they become the overlords of nature? Bai Ying believed in this. He believed in the power of flexibility, the power of connections, and the power of face. My private life is not for others to tell me what to do. Bai Ying had completely lost his patience. He was going to contact a few leaders to deal with this matter. He believed that in the local area, everyone would more or less give him some face. Bai Ying turned around and returned to the office of the investigation department. He quickly made a few phone calls, all for this matter. He hoped to make Su Yun and the others suffer a little. He wanted them to know the consequences of offending him here. As expected of a famous lawyer. His face was indeed big. After a few phone calls, even the local bureau chief Nyo was alarmed. Director Nyo went shopping with his daughter early in the morning because his daughter was going to study abroad the day after tomorrow. This was a big deal for Director Nyo. He had bought all the famous brands for his daughter, from a boarding box that cost more than 18,000 yuan to a bottle of eye cream that cost more than 1,000 yuan. They were all international brands. Director Nyo didn't feel anything after shopping in the mall. More than 200,000 yuan was gone. No wonder everyone said that money was easy to spend but hard to earn. Even as a bureau chief, he felt that the expenses were too high. Just when Director Nyo felt that he had bought enough, his daughter took a fancy to a Dolce & Gabbana limited edition satchel. Director Nyo saw that it was a DNG brand and knew it wasn't cheap. When he heard the price, he was shocked. It was at least 50,000 yuan. But who asked his daughter to take a fancy to it? Director Nyo gritted his teeth and swiped his card without hesitation. But his daughter didn't have any intention to restrain herself. She suddenly decided to buy a jade Buddha to bring along. She said that she was going to travel so far and needed something to protect her. When Director Nyo heard this, he immediately agreed. He had to buy it. He couldn't lack something to protect his daughter. After all, she was going to study in the United States. The United States was a chaotic place, and his daughter needed something like this. Then, Director Nyo swiped 180,000 yuan and bought a jade Buddha for his daughter. In just one morning, the father and daughter had spent 500,000 yuan. 500,000 yuan. What kind of concept was that? To put it bluntly, as a bureau chief of the city's public security system, he was at most a cadre at the level of a department. His monthly salary was marked at 5,000 yuan, and there were all kinds of subsidies and bonuses. It was definitely impossible for him to get more than that amount when he was paid. In other words, he had spent 4 years of his income in just one morning. Was that possible? Let's not talk about the things he bought today. In fact, the things he bought today were just a drop in the ocean. Look at the things his daughter was wearing. She was just an 18-year-old girl. Ordinary people couldn't even calculate how much money she had on her. The necklace was actually the Tiffany family's iris key pendant. The gorgeous light of the floral pink diamonds adorned the diamond-studded pendant vividly. This was the symbol of the French royal family. Chanel black and white striped chain bag, Prada black sunglasses, Chanel light gold diamond-studded crystal earrings, Levi's luxurious pink diamond ring. This was simply not something a civil servant's family could afford. Even the infamous Ma Jinlian was just like this. Therefore, Director Nyo's money was really interesting. Some people might say that Director Nyo might have a wife who did business. With a wife who did business, these things would be at his fingertips. Unfortunately, Chief Nyo spoiled his daughter so much because his daughter lost her mother when she was 10 years old. That was why he spoiled his daughter so much. Everything his daughter had today was created by Director Nyo. In today's social environment where tigers and flies fought together, there weren't many bureau chiefs who dared to be so high profile. However, it was still very common for them to be low-key and luxurious in private. However, it was really rare to see someone as high profile as Director Nyo. He could choose to let his daughter go out to spend money. No one outside the country would be able to see it. But he didn't. He just enjoyed the joy of buying things for his daughter. This was a kind of career that Director Nyo was very enthusiastic about. In his words, he could do anything for his daughter, and he felt that everything he did was worth it. For so many years, Director Nyo didn't have any other hobbies. Compared to those leaders who like to eat, drink, gamble, and smoke, he really had a very perfect positive image. When other leaders smoked Big China Red Panda, Director Nyo never did. When other bureau chiefs drank Flying Maotai Wuliangye, Director Nyo never did. He didn't drink at dinner. He was really a rare animal in their circle. What did Director Nyo's circle pay attention to? Everyone was well aware of it. If he could drink 1 or 2 cups, he would drink 3 cups. Such a cadre should be praised. If he could drink 2 or 3 cups, he would drink half a caddy. Such a leader could rest assured. If he could drink half a caddy, he would drink 8 cups. Such a cadre should be nurtured. If he could drink 8 cups, he would drink half a caddy. Such a leader was a classic example. If he could drink half a caddy, he would drink a box? Such a role model was very strong. That's why Director Nyo didn't smoke or drink. He was indeed a weirdo in this circle. It was said that a cadre who didn't smoke or drink was the hardest to win over. But Director Nyo was also a weirdo. He was a person who could be won over easily. This was probably due to how much he doted on his daughter. If he wanted to give his daughter everything and give her the best, what did he need? Of course, he needed money. Was there a need to explain? It was such a simple logic. In this day and age, nothing was more practical and effective than money. It could attack Director Nyo's heart. Director Nyo didn't accept any gifts. This was something many people knew. If someone gave him the most practical gifts, he wouldn't say anything. This was different from other leaders. After all, some leaders now didn't dare to accept the most practical gifts. They would change their gifts to make them happier. Director Nyo was not that daring. Many people knew that he was bending the law for personal gain. To Director Nyo, his behavior was very straightforward. You get people, I get money. To put it bluntly, getting people to bail out was a common name for using improper methods to get suspects to handle cases. This was also one of the methods Director Nyo used to make money. The city had arranged for Director Nyo to be in charge of the city's public security. He had cleverly combined public security and getting people to bail out for money. Director Nyo was also a smart person. Although his methods were not brilliant, no one dared to provoke him. This was because a good director who didn't smoke or drink was hard to get hold of. This was his image. Chapter 33-25. With such a bureau chief Niu, it was no wonder that people like Zhang Shanxing could be so domineering in this place. Besides, Bureau Chief Niu might not have any stronger backers or figures above him. This was something that many people did not know. After Bureau Chief Niu learned of this matter, his good mood disappeared. He originally wanted to take his daughter out for a big meal, but now he had to return to the unit. Bureau Chief Niu's daughter was also a reasonable child. As long as there was a card that could be swiped casually, she did not care where her father went. After Bureau Chief Niu left, she immediately called a few of her so-called good brothers and sisters and went out to have fun together. In her words, this was called the last craziness before going abroad. This might also be her last craziness in the country. After all, Bureau Chief Niu had always hoped that his daughter would be able to develop abroad in the future. Although Bureau Chief Niu said every day how patriotic he was and how much he loved to serve the people, deep down, he was also a bastard who thought that the moon abroad was rounder. More and more greedy, rich, talented, and smart people left with their wealth and achievements to become foreign nationals. All the officials liked to be naked officials. All the actors liked to change their nationality. Scholars and private entrepreneurs applied for foreign green cards. As long as one had assets, emigration seemed to have become a trend in Huaxia. In the 30 years of the reform and opening up of the mainland, the number of people who emigrated overseas exceeded millions. The world's number one. These people took away a large number of Huaxia's hard-earned money. Could the people say that they were all the enemies of Huaxia's citizens? Their departure caused China's citizens to lose a lot of social wealth. This was an indisputable fact. Although some of the results of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences survey would make people feel that it was fake, such as the average income. However, there was one survey result that most people would think was false. But even if it was false, it was still a rather high number. That was that the public officials' approval of naked officials was very high. Nearly half of the public officials believed that their spouses could have foreign citizenship. More than half of the public officials approved that their children had foreign citizenship or permanent residency in foreign countries. Of course, this was everyone's freedom. We had no right to interfere. However, when the citizens saw this, who knew what they would think? He believed that most people would be shocked. This was not scientific at all. It turns out that these grandsons who usually preach on the stage how their people love their country, contribute to society, and are loyal to the revolution and the party, they ask us to love our country, but they send their children to the evil capitalist countries to further their studies and live. These ugly faces made people want to vomit. Human nature was selfish. Seeing this, most people would think that the concept of good nature at birth was nonsense. No matter who it was, they would first satisfy themselves before thinking about how to satisfy others. Why was the spirit of Lei Feng worth proclaiming? Why was Kong Fonson's role model worthy of everyone's recognition? This kind of spirit indeed needed to be promoted, because this kind of spirit was beyond the selfishness of human beings. To serve society with the heart of the world, it was not something that ordinary people could achieve. However, most of the resources in charge of publicity were replaced by celebrities. In fact, there were many people in this society who did good deeds for 10 years. They helped hundreds of old grannies cross the road, subdued dozens of robbers, and sponsored a few children in poor mountainous areas. But no one would write about them. No one would read the report. What would people read? Today, which little fresh meat took off his clothes and exposed his body? Tomorrow, which young female star walked the red carpet and exposed her cleavage? When these sensations occupied the media, the so-called publicity changed. After more than a year, Cristiano Ronaldo found a new model with a voluptuous figure. This news would make the headlines the next day, and football fans would talk about it for a few days. Hayden went to a nightclub again, and his girlfriend's butt was bigger than a yoga ball. Dozens of news articles could be written about it, and basketball fans would talk about it for a few days. Therefore, in this day and age, entertainment, sports, and internet celebrities occupied most of the publicity resources. These were all digressions. As for the real issue of immigration, Many people would say that the reason why people like Director Nyo migrated their children to the countries with capitalists was because they were corrupt in the first place. They hoped to secretly break through the encirclement and avoid possible punishment. Obviously, this was because they lacked confidence in their country. No, that was wrong. The experts would tell the people that they misunderstood the good intentions of the Director Nyo. The phenomenon of most of the children of the Director Nyo immigrating would show us that the dedication of these Director Nyo was admirable. Because the Director Nyo left the beautiful socialist society with Hua Xia characteristics for the people of our country to enjoy. Instead, they sent their children to the evil capitalist countries to suffer and harm the capitalist countries. Therefore, the people should really understand the good intentions of the Director Nyo. The words of the experts were really worthy of respect. It was all nonsense. Why would these people want their children and family members to be foreigners? Don't they know the reason themselves? Did the experts not know? Because these people did not have confidence in themselves. For example, Director Nyo. Because Director Nyo knew how dirty his butt was. Maybe one day, in a certain movement or event, he would become a sacrifice in the struggle. By sending his children away, he would no longer have to worry about the future. Director Nyo had such thoughts. This was also the reason why he did whatever he wanted in the officialdom. If it really came to a last resort, he would just resign. The ancient said, "Resign and return to your hometown." But Director Nyo said, "Resign and move abroad." This was considered to be keeping up with the pace of the times. The Director Nyo allowed their children to have foreign citizenship. This showed that they were not confident in their own country. In order to ask the people to love their country, the officials had to set a good example. Now, half of the officials allowed their children to have foreign citizenship. How could they convince the people to love their country and send their children out? One had to know that most of the bad things in society had evolved from the officialdom. These Director Nyo could still be so carefree. This showed that the killing flies and killing tigers still needed to be strengthened. There were still too many fish that escaped the net. Many people were puzzled. When could they be sure that these tigers and flies could be completely killed? Su Yun felt that if there was a special phenomenon in society, it meant that the anti-corruption campaign had succeeded. There would no longer be a rush to take the civil servant exam. Once no one went to take the civil servant exam, what did that mean? Wasn't it obvious? Or they could set a rule that the leaders of a certain rank and above could not own any private assets. Everything would belong to the government, including their living quarters, clothes, food, and other necessities. Since they were serving the people, they had to act like they were serving the people. In this way, only those good and honest officials who truly had the determination to serve the people, who truly cared about the development of the country, and who truly cared about the development of the country, would appear, while those greedy bulls would be eliminated bit by bit. If the country wanted to develop, it had to ensure that those who served the people were the greedy cows who were loved by the people, and not those greedy cows who only cared about their own interests. Only by loving the people could one love their country. Only by loving the people could one be willing to contribute. Director Nyo rushed back to the unit. Lawyer Bai heard the sound of the car and smiled. Now that a big leader had arrived, he wanted to see what these small anti-drug brigade could do. This was a common saying that most Chinese people believed in. However, those who were truly knowledgeable and had seen the world should know that this saying was not true at all. Who paid the salaries of the officials? The finance. Who gave the finance department the money? It was all from the people. No taxpayer should be afraid of the officials. Regardless of what kind of person Guadigang was right about one thing. The audience was his bread and butter, and he had to treat them with the most basic respect. And the officials' food and clothing were provided by the taxpayers. The people were the officials' parents. There was nothing wrong with this saying, right? So why did people have the mentality of a high official suppresses the people? Lawyer Bai, a cultured and knowledgeable person, actually had such a thought. It could be seen that this person's overall quality was very average. He did not have the basic qualities that a high-end lawyer should have. Chapter 33-26. When Lawyer Bai saw Bureau Chief Nyo, he immediately went out to welcome him. His enthusiasm was written all over his face. He even seemed to want to steal the limelight. Bureau Chief Nyo waved his hand and asked the main parties to go to the meeting room. He wanted to understand the situation personally. Of course, Zhang Shanmin, who was beaten black and blue by Su Yun, was brought to the hospital by the police. His subordinates also crowded the hospital's orthopedic department. All the doctors in the hospital were dumbfounded. They didn't expect this group of scum to end up like this. Although they didn't say anything, they were all cheering in their hearts. They were also filled with admiration for the person who was able to beat these people into such a state. Therefore, only Su Yun, his group, and Lawyer Bai, who represented Zhang Shanmin, were present. Bureau Chief Nyo, I'm so sorry that you had to take time out of your busy schedule to deal with this. Lawyer Bai went forward and pulled out a chair for Bureau Chief Nyo. Bureau Chief Nyo didn't stand on ceremony and sat down. He raised his head and said, Bai Ying, we're old friends. You don't have to be so polite. Take a seat. We can talk about this slowly. It seemed that the relationship between Bureau Chief Nyo and Lawyer Bai was quite interesting. Su Yun and the rest didn't say anything. They sat down and waited to hear what Bureau Chief Nyo's attitude was. After Bureau Chief Nyo entered the room, he didn't even look at Su Yun and the rest. It seemed like he was purposely trying to raise his status. Perhaps he did this because he already knew from other people that he was facing people from the anti-drug brigade. Therefore, he needed to put on airs. The anti-drug brigade brothers did take the initiative to approach Bureau Chief Nyo to get closer, but Su Yun secretly stopped them and didn't let them go forward. Which one of you is the one who beat people up? Bureau Chief Nyo didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. You're all people of status. You should know how bad the impact of doing something like this in society is, right? Who would have thought that Bureau Chief Nyo would indiscriminately give Su Yun and the others a show of strength the moment he arrived? Although his attitude wasn't serious, it still made Su Yun and the rest feel very uncomfortable. What's the point of this? Lin Gu couldn't help but ask. You're the bureau chief. Don't you know the general situation? Who do you think you're talking to? Director Nyo was also stunned. How could he have imagined that a brat would dare to speak to him like that? Do you have any rules? Do you have any manners? Lawyer Bai seized the opportunity to curry favor. Director Nyo is so busy every day. How would he have the time to understand these things? Now that he's asked us to sit here, isn't it to understand this matter? Is this how you talk to your leader? It was this kind of people who had turned talking to the leader into an art. Lin Gu felt disgusted at the sight of such a haughty person. Furthermore, Lawyer Bai had added fuel to the fire, which made him feel even more disgusted. However, Su Yun didn't stop Lin Gu this time. Lin Gu got Su Yun's tacit approval, so he didn't deliberately control himself. What's wrong with talking to the leader? Do I have to be submissive? I'm just stating a fact. Do you know how busy the leader is? Lawyer Bai didn't back down. Lin Gu snorted coldly. How busy is the leader? Does he have a lot of affairs to attend to? You said the leader is busy, but why isn't he busy in the office? If I remember correctly, it's office hours. If the leader isn't busy in the office during office hours, where would he be busy? Director Nyo's face started to turn ugly. When Lawyer Bai heard Lin Ji's words, he continued to aggravate Lin Ji's emotions. Is the leader still a leader if he's in the office every day? Don't you know that the leader needs to have meetings? Don't talk nonsense. Lin Gu glanced at Director Nyo impolitely. Then what meeting did Director Nyo go to? Director Nyo was unhappy. He slammed the table. Do you want me to write a summary report for you? I'm here to listen to you talk about the case. I'm not here to listen to your nonsense. Okay. Since Director Nyo said so, I'll talk about the case. Lawyer Bai immediately said, Director Nyo, my client went to a hotel to book a room and invited a few foreign friends to have a meal together. And then, Director Nyo said, why did he get beaten up for a meal? Lawyer Bai's ability to spout nonsense with a straight face was better than any broadcast host's. You'll have to ask them about that. Who knows what they're up to when they hit someone without saying a word? They even beat him up to that extent. Director Nyo looked at Su Yun and the rest. Don't you want to explain? There's nothing to explain. Lin Gu said. Who are those people? They're all hooligans. That guy is their leader. He's the one who gathered so many people to cause trouble in broad daylight. Of course, we have to intervene. Lawyer Bai quickly waved his hand. Wait. I don't like what you're saying. My client doesn't even know those people. I realize that you're really shameless. Don't you have a bottom line? Lin Gu glared anxiously. Director Nyo, look at that temper. That posture of wanting to beat people up for no reason. What are you trying to do? Lawyer Bai said, Look at me, Director Nyo. The handprint on my face was caused by them. But there were no surveillance cameras to record it. I could only swallow my anger. Director Nyo frowned. How can you beat people up for no reason? We're a society governed by law. Do you understand? Director Nyo. Xiachoyu could not hold it in any longer. Just as you said, we're a society governed by law. But don't you know what kind of person Zhang Shanqing is? Many people in this city knew who he was. He's an organization that organizes beggars for money with a motive. It's illegal. He even used illegal means to cripple beggars. Aren't these things illegal? Miss, you better not slander me. Lawyer Bai immediately said, Do you know why I can't sue you after you slapped me? Because there's no evidence. Without evidence, there's no meaning. If you say that my client broke the law, then show me the evidence. If you can't show me the evidence, don't spout nonsense. This is slander. It's slander. Slander is also a crime. Xia Qiuyu could not believe that such a lawyer existed in this world. How did such a person become a lawyer? Did a lawyer's profession not depend on one's character? As a lawyer, you should know the crime of covering up, right? You are covering up for a criminal and trying to clear a criminal's name. Isn't that a crime? Xia Qiuyu said sternly, The crime of covering up is punishable by imprisonment. You're a lawyer, so how can you not know? Lawyer Bai looked as though he had been wronged. Director Nyo, look. They don't care about evidence at all. They just keep slandering my client and me. How am I supposed to communicate with them? Director Nyo had a headache when it came to such matters. He sized up Su Yun and the rest. He was curious about Su Yun, who had been silent all this while. Although he was young, he felt that he was not someone to be trifled with. How about this? You are considered one of us, Director Nyo said. You don't have to worry about this matter. Let the local police handle it. As for you, you are more or less impulsive in this matter. I will find a way to help you solve the problem. You can put this matter aside and leave. That's impossible. Xia Qiuyu rejected immediately. We have to handle this matter properly. Director Nyo frowned. You were the ones who hit him. Do you want me to punish you? I'm giving you face. Can't you see that? I'm using my status as a director to protect you. Don't you understand? Su Yun finally spoke. Director Nyo, we never asked you to protect us. Moreover, we didn't do anything wrong. Why are you talking about protecting us? Su Yun's counterattack left Director Nyo speechless for a moment. Director Nyo was really speechless. Su Yun's words hit the nail on the head. As for Zhang Shanfei, I think as a director, you should investigate her thoroughly. Su Yun continued, If there is such a malignant tumor in the city under your jurisdiction, it is a very serious mistake. Director Nyo's gaze never left Su Yun, but he did not say a word. Su Yun smiled and pointed at Lawyer Bai. He is a lawyer. He knows that there is a crime called negligence. Lawyer Bai, am I right? Chapter 33-27. Director Nyo couldn't sit still when he heard that. He slammed the table and said, What nonsense are you talking about? How dare you slander Director Nyo? I think you guys are really sick in the head, right? Although Lawyer Bai looked furious on the surface, his heart was already blooming with joy. The more the other party acted recklessly and offended Chief Nyo, the more advantage his side would have. Su Yun looked at Director Nyo and asked, "Then I would like to ask, Director Nyo, where did you go for a meeting when you weren't at work today?" "Do I need to report to you where I go? Who do you think you are?" Director Nyo stared at him and said, "Do I need to report to you? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?" Su Yun smiled and said, "You know who I am." "I already knew that. You're not even from the anti-drug brigade. Do you know that the captain of the anti-drug brigade, Chan Beiyuan, is at most the same rank as me? But what kind of place is he? How bad are the conditions there? What about me? What kind of place am I? Can't you tell who's more powerful between the two of us?" Director Nyo was a little arrogant. "In my eyes, the two of you are not on the same level," Su Yun said. The anti-drug brigade brothers were a little unhappy when they heard Su Yun's words. If Director Nyo looked down on Captain Chen, they could still tolerate it. But if Su Yun, as one of their own, looked down on Captain Chen, they would be disappointed. However, Su Yun continued, "In my eyes, Captain Chen is a hero. He loves his job and is dedicated to his work. What he does is to protect his family and country. But you, Director Nyo, look like a big-hearted, fat person." Lin Gu sneered and added from the side, "Brother, aren't the words you used a little too nice? Big-hearted, fat person? I think he has a fat head and big ears. You have no respect for your elders." Director Nyo didn't hold back with Lin Gu. "If you want others to respect you, you have to respect others first. Don't think that you are superior just because you are the director." Lin Gu didn't care what rank he was in. Even if the President of the United States wanted to show off in front of him, he wouldn't give him any face. "Chief Nyo, I think you shouldn't waste your breath on them. It's meaningless. Let's go to your office. I'll explain everything to you." Lawyer Bai felt that he had achieved his goal. Su Yun didn't agree. "As a lawyer, you want to play with unilateral precedents, right? Don't. If you have something to say, just say it here. We're all here. We can talk more clearly. But Chief Nyo has nothing to say to you guys who are making trouble for no reason." "I have nothing to say, okay?" Lawyer Bai said, "You don't even know the basic courtesy of respecting your leader. What's there to communicate?" Lin Gu felt disgusted when he heard this. "Respect the leader, right? You want to play this game, right? Let me tell you, in this room, the person with the highest rank isn't you, Director Nyo." Chief Nyo's face was getting darker and darker. "If it's not Director Nyo, then it's you." Lawyer Bai pointed at Su Yun. "Even if it's true, it's him." Su Yun was obviously their backbone. Everyone could see that. As expected of a lawyer. "You can see the main point of a problem," Lin Gu grinned. "You guessed it right away. It's my brother." "Don't give me that." Lawyer Bai waved his hand impatiently. "We're all busy. We don't have time to listen to your nonsense." Chief Nyo had lost his patience. He stood up and said to Lawyer Bai, "Let's go to my office. We need to talk alone." He turned and left, completely ignoring Su Yun and the others. Lin Gu wanted to stop him, but Su Yun stopped him. After the two left, Su Yun contacted Wan Guangxiao. He first explained the situation, then told Wan Guangxiao that he might be back a little later. He wanted to settle the matter before leaving. Wan Guangxiao nodded. He told Su Yun that he would arrange for someone to verify his identity and make sure the matter was cleared up. Then he hung up. Director Nyo returned to his office angrily. Lawyer Bai immediately took Director Nyo's teacup and made him a cup of tea. He told Director Nyo not to lower himself to the same level as those people. He told him to calm down and not to argue with those unreasonable people. After taking a sip of tea, Chief Nyo felt much better. "Little Bai, do you know how many years it's been since someone dared to talk to me like that?" Chief Nyo said. Even when I went to the municipal committee for a meeting, all the leaders were polite to me. No one dared to talk to me like that. That's for sure. Who are you? Lawyer Bai continued to flatter Chief Nyo, hoping to calm him down. Chief Nyo shook his head unhappily. Just a few brats and they want to order me around and educate me in my territory? Humph, they don't know their place. Yes, they really don't know their place. They're just a few unreasonable people. Lawyer Bai felt that Chief Nyo's emotions were under control. He suddenly took out a card from his pocket. Pa Lawyer Bai gently placed the card on Chief Nyo's desk. Chief Nyo glanced at it. His previous emotions seemed to have disappeared in an instant. Chief Nyo, you've been working so hard every day. You should rest more, Lawyer Bai said. Chief Nyo shook his head. Lawyer Bai, you're too polite. Take it away. What kind of relationship do we have? Why do you have to be so polite? Ha 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 ha. Although he said that, he had no intention of returning the card to Lawyer Bai. If Lawyer Bai really took the card and put it back, he wouldn't be able to work in this place anymore, let alone be a lawyer. Chief Nyo, am I being polite or are you treating me as an outsider? Lawyer Bai changed the topic. I heard that your daughter is going to study abroad. Why didn't you tell me about such a big thing? If I didn't ask you today, I wouldn't have known. Chief Nyo's face was beaming like a flower. Chief Nyo, I'm very happy to know about this. Very happy. This is amazing. Going abroad to study. In the future, her temperament, knowledge, and all other aspects will be better than others. That's really amazing, Lawyer Bai said. Lawyer Bai said, but I'm a little disappointed that you didn't tell me about such an important matter. Lawyer Bai, I didn't tell you because I was afraid that you would spend money, Chief Nyo said calmly. Look at what you're saying. My child is going to school. As her uncle, shouldn't I do something? This is part of my job. Lawyer Bai said, Chief Nyo, don't you think the child should call me uncle? Since I'm an uncle, if I don't do something, how can I? The more Lawyer Bai spoke, the more agitated he became. Weren't all people who tried to curry favor like this these days? Those who tried to curry favor were all like this. There was no mistake about it. Chief Nyo was grinning from ear to ear. This card has the old password. Lawyer Bai smiled too. Chief Nyo, you know my situation. Although 200,000 is nothing to you, it's still a small token of my appreciation. This is a stipend for your child's education. You have to accept it. To be honest, 200,000 was quite a lot. Chief Nyo knew this very well. The password was an old one, which meant that it wasn't the first time that Director Nyo had taken money from Lawyer Bai. For Director Nyo, who was experienced in accepting bribes, accepting a card wasn't a big deal at all. Lawyer Bai, I appreciate your kindness. Ha ha ha, I thank you on behalf of the child, Chief Nyo said. Chief Nyo said, but let me say this first. This is the last time. Lawyer Bai, you can't be so polite in the future. If you continue to be so polite, I'll feel embarrassed. Lawyer Bai knew what to do when he heard this. Chief Nyo, you should call me Little Bai. That way, I'll feel closer to you. If outsiders hear it, I'll feel proud too. Don't you think so? That's not appropriate. You're such a big lawyer. Ha ha ha. Chief Nyo's laughter showed that he was really happy. He had spent so much today, and in the blink of an eye, he had earned back 1/3 of it. If it were anyone else, they would laugh out loud. Director Nyo was really revealing his true feelings. He did not hide it at all. After all, it was his own office. He laughed with ease and comfort. Chapter 33-28. In Director Nyo's office, Lawyer Bai told him half of the truth and half lies about the whole thing. He also revealed the help he needed bit by bit during the conversation. He also flattered Director Nyo's daughter many times about how outstanding she was and how bright her future would be after she went abroad and so on. After this conversation, Director Nyo's mood became much better than before. He liked chatting with sensible people like Bai Ying. It was very comfortable. In the meeting room, Su Yun and the others had been ignored for almost an hour. It could be said that except for Su Yun, everyone else was very uneasy. For them, this was a deliberate isolation. To put it bluntly, Director Nyo just wanted to show them his attitude. This is really not a solution. I'd better call Captain Chen and ask him to think of a way to ask about the relationship here. The brothers from the anti-drug brigade were also a little anxious. Don't bother Captain Chen with this matter. Your border anti-drug brigade usually doesn't have much contact with this side. In terms of connections, you are obviously weak. Su Yun, so if you tell him about this matter, it will only add to his troubles. But we can't just keep dragging it out like this. The brothers from the anti-drug brigade were obviously very worried. Lin Gu patted the brother's shoulder. My brother is here. Are you still worried? Don't worry. What is this? This is not a problem at all. Don't worry. 7 words are floating in the sky. It will be fine in a while. The brother from the anti-drug brigade forced a bitter smile. He really didn't think that it would be fine. Do you feel that there is something wrong with Director Nyo? Su Yun asked. Lin Gu shook his head. I feel that there is something wrong, but I can't say what it is. If he is a blood-sucking fly, at least he should smoke a diamond hibiscus king, right? At least a Greater China at least. But he doesn't smoke at all. He doesn't wear any branded watch on his wrist. Look at his phone, it looks like a cigarette box. Is it a counterfeit? He can't use a counterfeit, right? If he is a big fly, at least use an iPhone. You need to train your observation skills more in the future. Su Yun educated Lin Gu. Lin Gu laughed dryly, knowing that he must have misjudged. He doesn't smoke, but did you notice that he's wearing custom-made leather shoes from Prada? The cheapest one costs tens of thousands of yuan. Su Yun, he didn't wear a branded watch, but do you know what that inconspicuous bracelet on his wrist is? Lin Gu thought for a long time. Is it beeswax? That's not cheap. The value of amber beeswax is no less than any gemstone. It's not beeswax, but it's still a kind of literary toy. Su Yun, it's a string of Baoshan Nanhong. Nanhong is very precious because it's a natural red color. It's rare and has a very low yield rate. Nanhong is a type of agate that's on par with jadeite and Hatian jade. And the price of southern red Baoshan is now catching up with jadeite and Hatian jade. It had to be noted that it wasn't a single beeswax, but a string of beeswax. Lin Gu grinned. I didn't expect that Director Nyo and that Zhang Shanliang would both like to play literary games. They're quite good at pretending. Also, you said that his phone, which looks like a cigarette box, isn't a counterfeit. Su Yun continued, the phone he's using is the same model as the one used by the gangster we met in Filu. How much does an iPhone cost? The one he's using is called a Dior phone, and it costs 50,000 yuan. Dior's phone? Lin Ji's eyes widened. Wow. This guy really knows how to keep a low profile. Also, his belt is Hermes. Even his shirt and socks are branded goods, Su Yun said. What kind of person do you think he is now? Then this guy is just like Cole Jike. He can wear luxury goods like a country bumpkin. They're not ordinary people. Lin Gu couldn't help but clap his hands in praise. Xia Qiuyu said with some heartache, how can a director be so rich? Although Huaxia's economy has developed rapidly since the reform and opening up, Huaxia's campaign to make people rich is astonishing in terms of both the number of people and the total amount of wealth. It's even completed a century or two of capitalist countries. But, isn't it a little too exaggerated for a director to be so extravagant? This is indeed unreliable. Su Yun, Huaxia's economy has indeed developed. The people's current wealth is probably at the level of ancient nobles. 30 years ago, the most extravagant dream of Huaxia people was to eat a full meal, wear patchless clothes, and have a house that doesn't leak rain. Xia Qiuyu nodded. That was indeed the case. Nowadays, people can even throw a table full of food into the trash can. Their closets are filled with new clothes that they've never worn before. Uninhabited new buildings can be seen everywhere. Although there's extremely terrifying inflation and the gap between the rich and the poor, It's also an undeniable fact that people's living standards have increased by 1,000 times in the past 30 years. Su Yun. But this kind of sudden wealth can't satisfy anyone to the point where they can be covered in luxuries. Director Nyo had given his daughter all kinds of luxuries since she was young. That was why his daughter had developed this kind of concept. Therefore, all the luxuries he had on him were given to him by his daughter. Of course, the money she spent was his money. When a girl from an ordinary family was 17 or 18 years old, it was already very impressive to have a few thousand yuan in her pocket. However, Director Nyo's allowance for his daughter had never been less than 6 figures. If she didn't bring a card with millions of yuan with her when she went shopping, she wouldn't feel confident. Just like that, Director Nyo had already spent an incalculable amount of money on his daughter. Therefore, if they really wanted to check his assets, he probably wouldn't be exaggerating. This money could be spent at any time. For example, the card that Bai Ying had placed on Director Nyo's table could be the allowance he had casually given to his daughter at night. Raising a son in poverty and raising a daughter in wealth, Director Nyo agreed with this concept very much. He felt that his daughter needed to be raised in wealth. He wanted her to have everything and have all kinds of knowledge. She had used what others had used before, used what others hadn't used before, eaten what others hadn't eaten before, and seen what others hadn't seen before. This way, he wouldn't be worried that his daughter wouldn't be deceived by a little favor in the future. Her feelings wouldn't be taken advantage of, and she wouldn't be tricked by people with ulterior motives. This consideration was obviously correct. However, there was one thing that Director Nyo had gone too far. He had already gone beyond that, far beyond that level. He had already let his daughter's quality of life exceed that of the world's 99999999999 people. There was really no need for that. It was enough to raise his daughter to let her have a slightly higher than average life. That way, she could be considered a rich adopted daughter. He didn't want to directly raise his daughter to be a collector of luxuries. If it wasn't for Director Nyo's wrong thinking, he wouldn't have made so many mistakes. With his status as a director, his normal income could already provide his daughter with an above-average life. That way, the daughter he raised might really be able to become an outstanding person, and not a collector of luxuries like she was now. A man can't be rich without a windfall, and a horse can't be fat without feeding at night. This saying isn't wrong at all. Su Yun smiled faintly. Whether it's the rich people who we can name now or those who suddenly become rich, all of them agree with this saying. Xia Choyu nodded. Su Yun was right. This point was applicable whether it was in Huaxia or in the West. It was impossible to become rich just by relying on one's ability and struggle without any foundation. An annual salary of around 500,000 was already considered quite successful, wasn't it? Huaxia became rich by relying on resources. It was actually quite embarrassing to say that. It was the world's largest producer and consumer of coal, fertilizer, steel, and cement. In all fairness, Huaxia's sudden wealth was the result of technology. If it was applied to people, it was really a country can't be rich without a windfall. Compared to a new country that had no people, no land, and no resources, Huaxia relied on the efforts of the government and the people bit by bit. It was the kind of country that relied on one's ability and struggle without foundation to achieve an annual salary of 500,000. Why did Huaxia become rich? It was because we dug up the earth. It was because of the black gold buried underground. The sacred tree, located in the barren land of the Lus Plateau, could be called a typical specimen of this sudden wealth revolution. The sad thing was that the entire Huaxia society was filled with a kind of madness and confusion of small people suddenly becoming rich. It was like a pauper who had suddenly won the lottery. For a moment, they were at a loss and forgot everything. It couldn't be ignored that in this round of waves of wealth, many people took advantage of the chaotic and disorderly social environment to fill their wallets. Director Nyo was one of the typical representative figures of a man can't be rich without a windfall. Chapter 33-29. While a few of them were talking about Huaxia's sudden wealth phenomenon, A few cars with military license plates suddenly appeared in the police station's courtyard. The old man at the gate was a bit stunned. This seemed to be the first time people from the military came to their station. To be honest, between the military and the police, there was a bit of an unclear relationship. Many people knew about this relationship. Su Yun was actually quite typical. As a soldier from the military, he always had some opinions about the police. Of course, he also had a more special reason. A special betrayal made him hate the police. If it weren't for Qin Wan-er, who was a bit brainless and impulsive heroine, and Chen Wei, who was calm and responsible, he might not have a good impression of the police. Of course, even if there was no betrayal, Su Yun still had some opinions about the police. This was a very direct representation. Soldiers and police both wore uniforms, but they were two completely different types of people. As for why the images of soldiers and police were so different in the eyes of ordinary people, it could be seen from the most basic duties. When soldiers were on duty, their every move was methodical. For example, if there was something that needed to be maintained, and soldiers were to stand guard, they would definitely be like electric poles on the ground. Their backs were straight, and their eyes were like torches. But if it was the police on duty, if they could bring a chair, they would definitely not stand. Even if they stood, some people would find a place to lean or even squat down. Some people would wear sunglasses, some would smoke. All kinds of situations would occur. This really didn't need to be explained or denied. This wasn't something that was wrong. This was a kind of discipline, because the police didn't have such strict discipline. But the military was different. Those who came out of the military had to stand straight, sit straight, walk like the wind, and lie down like a bough. They couldn't be careless at all. Two completely different systems. The people who came out of the military naturally had different habits. The police were the law enforcement system, and the military was the armed force. The most important point to emphasize was that Hua Xia people's armed police force belonged to the military. The armed police force was different from the people's police force. The former was still completely under military management, while the police force belonged to the civil service. So the armed police force was active military. As for the area that Bureau Chief Nyo was in charge of, it was under the jurisdiction of the people's police, so it was different from the military system. Naturally, the people from the military would not run to his place. In fact, Chief Nyo also represented a portion of the police. They had certain opinions about the people in the army. They always felt that the people in the army were too pretentious and arrogant. This was not without foundation and sources. For example, Chief Nyo knew one of his relatives was cheated by a guy. He went to the bank to guarantee a few 100,000 yuan loan for that guy. Then that guy gambled and lost it all. He even owed a lot of money. Then he ran away. Since they were his relatives, Director Nyo would naturally take care of this matter with all his heart. Director Nyo also found out that this guy was a soldier in the neighboring province. After the incident, he ran back to where he was originally a soldier. Because there was a leader in the army who thought highly of this guy, he kept him in the compound to do some things. He also said that as long as he didn't leave the courtyard, no one would dare to come in and capture him. To be honest, the army did have this kind of arrogant habit. Moreover, these words were not arrogant without reason. They were arrogant because they did have the right to be arrogant. The division of jurisdiction between the public security organs and the military in criminal cases was stipulated. Just to mention one point, there was no need to say anything else. If a soldier committed a crime in a place, the local public security organs should promptly hand it over to the military security department for investigation. Although there were many more detailed rules, this point generally expressed a very clear meaning. The public security organs should not meddle in the affairs of the army. This was also the reason why Chief Nyo could not go to the army to arrest that guy. As long as the army did not admit it and did not let him go, he could not even think about it. Even if this guy was wanted by the entire internet. Of course, the net of the law was long, but it did not escape. This guy had been protected in the army for nearly 10 years. He himself thought that this matter was long over. It would be fine if he went out. Then, when he had the chance to go out to play, he was caught. Now, one must use an ID card to get a room in a hotel. He did not think much about it and used his ID card to get a room. In the end, he did not know that he was wanted by the entire internet. Then he was caught and brought back. Some friends like to scold me when they see something that they don't believe. They say that I am writing nonsense again. I will directly ban those who attack me. Haha. But there are still people who are happy to continue using sock puppets. But I want to say that stories come from life. Just this matter, this is really the real thing around me. Moreover, this is a novel. From the beginning of the setting, you can see that a lot of things are exaggerated. Have you seen a master who can fly? If you don't believe it from the beginning, then don't read it. Novels are made up. After all, it is a story. It is normal to be fake and exaggerated. Because of this incident, Chief Nyo did not have a good impression of the army. He was also very disgusted by the arrogance of the army. Su Yun himself admitted that some people in the army were indeed arrogant, including himself. Sometimes, when he did things, there was a sense of arrogance. But Su Yun felt that it was nothing. As long as the people in the army did not use this kind of arrogance to show off to the people, there was no problem at all. If a soldier did not even have this kind of arrogance, when the country was in danger, how could they protect it? Therefore, Su Yun felt that there was no problem with being arrogant. When he represented the country to participate in the military training competition of the 36 countries, there were hundreds of elite soldiers from all over the world who participated. Not a single one of them was not arrogant. But Su Yun was still the most arrogant among them. Because he had the capital. To be able to stand and have the last laugh, he had the qualifications. Although Chief Nyo had some prejudice against the people in the army, he still had to greet them with a smile. When the few mighty cars stopped, Chief Nyo came out to welcome them. Of course, Lawyer Bai also came out with a smile on his face. A few energetic officers came out of the cars. The lowest rank was a captain. The one who walked in front was a lieutenant colonel. I don't know why all of you have come from afar. Sorry for not coming out to meet you. Chief Nyo came forward and said, "No one informed me that the people from our military are coming. I also did not prepare how to find all of you. There is no need, thank you." The lieutenant colonel said directly, "We know that the chief from Yenjing is here. I don't know if Chief Nyo has neglected us." Chief Nyo was stunned. His eyes were full of surprise. "What do you mean? The chief from Yenjing?" Lawyer Bai laughed at the side. "Officers, did you make a mistake? We. Hee, why would the chief from Yenjing come here? There must be some misunderstanding. This is impossible." The lieutenant colonel's face was expressionless. "But we received a call. You are unilaterally abusing your power to detain people. Your words are too serious." Chief Nyo waved his hand. "You must know my identity since you are here." "What is my identity? Would I do such a thing?" "Definitely not. The information I received will not be wrong." The lieutenant colonel was firm. "You keep saying that I detained a chief. Then tell me what chief. I know you are a lieutenant colonel, a high-ranking officer. But you can't spout nonsense." Chief Nyo did not think that he would bow to a lieutenant colonel with his rank. They should at least be of the same rank. From his point of view, if a senior colonel had come, Chief Nyo might have lowered his stance. But if he wanted him to bow to him, unless he was a general. "Major General Su Yun," the lieutenant colonel said sternly. Lawyer Bai's face fell immediately. His eyes were filled with panic. Wasn't this a big deal? Su Yun. Was he talking about that young man? Such a young man was a major general. Look at this lieutenant colonel. He was at least 45 years old. And that young man was only in his mid-20s. What kind of joke was this? Chief Nyo's expression also began to stiffen bit by bit. This was really the legendary Great Fortune. Su Yun walked out and saluted with a smile. He greeted the lieutenant colonel in the military style. But according to his identity, he did not need to salute his subordinates. The lieutenant colonel recognized Su Yun immediately. Yen Jing had sent him a photo. The chief of the military region had given him an order. He could not let Major General Su Yun suffer any grievances here. Not even a little bit. This was related to the military's reputation. The few soldiers saluted neatly. Chief Nyo was completely dumbfounded. Su Yun was half a second generation in the military. His father had contributed a lot to the country and won a lot of fame. He had contributed a lot to the country and sacrificed a lot of blood in exchange for a military rank like this. If he was humiliated, the soldiers who had contributed to the country would all be bitterly disappointed. Chapter 33:30. Bureau Chief Nyo slapped his head. No matter what, the person beside him was a general. What was the equivalent of a general's rank? It was equivalent to a high official's rank. What was a mere bureau chief like him? For Bureau Chief Nyo, who worshipped people who were just one rank higher than him, this was simply a slap to his face. Who said I don't know how to talk to my superiors? Lin Gu looked at Lawyer Bai unhappily. Who was the arrogant one just now? Why aren't you pretending now? Pretending now? What was there to pretend about now? It was Bai Ying's first time seeing someone with a general's rank. Sir, please tell us what you need. The lieutenant general addressed Su Yun as such because he was giving him face. Their chief had specifically instructed them not to think about the age of the young man in front of them. To be honest, they were already shocked when they saw Su Yun's photo. Now that they saw him in person, they were even more shocked. However, all of this was hidden under their serious faces. They would not let outsiders see their true thoughts. Actually, it's nothing much. I shouldn't have troubled you to come here. Su Yun smiled. But I had no choice. I realized that some people here feel superior because of their status. People without status have no right to talk to them. So I had to trouble you. Sir, what should we do now? The lieutenant general asked. Even so, you have no right to take anyone away here. Lawyer Bai stuttered. If the army interfered, who would care about a small lawyer like him? If Zhang Shanxing was taken away, who would pay him the 200,000 yuan today? Bai Ying knew very well what kind of person Bureau Chief Nyo was. This guy's zodiac sign was Pai Xiu. Do you think our army is bandits? The lieutenant colonel glared at Lawyer Bai, and Lawyer Bai immediately shut up. If you really want to help me, then find a place and gather all the beggars in the city, especially those with disabilities. Su Yun said, if any passerby comes forward to stop me and show excessive nervousness, just arrest them. Chief Nyo's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. This seems to be a matter of our public security system. Regarding those miscellaneous people in society, it should be a matter of the city management and the law enforcement bureau. It's not appropriate for your army to interfere, right? You guys are incompetent. You didn't manage the things that you were supposed to manage. What's wrong with me interfering? Su Yun suddenly asked, if you guys can do the essential work well, do you think I'm so free? Looking for trouble for you? But what? There are 3,000 beggars in the city. Why do you still have the face to say, but? Lin Gu said impatiently. Bureau Chief Nyo was a little angry. However, the people from the army had always been swift and decisive in their work. When the lieutenant colonel received the order and Su Yun asked him to do it immediately, he was given an afternoon to do it. Naturally, he would do it immediately. Are you not going to give me any face by doing this? Although Bureau Chief Nyo was angry, he didn't dare to vent his anger on Su Yun. After all, I'm a law enforcement officer here. You're a law enforcement officer, right? Okay, then use your authority to issue a search warrant. Su Yun said, this brother of mine is from the anti-drug brigade. Right now, he suspects that Zhang Shanli is involved in drug trafficking and drug use. Therefore, I request that you give him the authority to do this. The brother from the anti-drug brigade was stunned. Bureau Chief Nyo was also dumbfounded. He didn't say anything for a long time. Su Yun had already made a judgment. Zhang Shanli was definitely a drug addict. Upon closer inspection, it could be seen that his eyes were unfocused, and there were needle holes on his arms. Moreover, his mouth was full of uneven black and yellow teeth. Occasionally, his fingers would unconsciously tremble. All these signs indicated that he was a drug addict. In addition, Su Yun also suspected that Zhang Shanli was using drugs to control the beggars under him. This was also very likely. Otherwise, how could those people who had been tortured by him not suddenly explode or resist? This meant that Zhang Shanli must have used despicable means to control them. Other than violence, coupled with drugs that could devour people's hearts, there really wasn't anyone who would resist him. Seeing that Su Yun was so confident, the brother from the anti-drug brigade believed that he must have a very accurate judgment. He immediately went into his work mode. If he's suspected of drug trafficking, this is my duty to deal with. I hope that Bureau Chief Nyo will cooperate. I'll contact our Captain Chen now and ask him for instructions and arrangements. Bureau Chief Nyo was forced to go to Liangshan. He had to agree to this even if he didn't want to. Otherwise, when the anti-drug brigade reported to the higher-ups would immediately request for cooperation. Lawyer Bai, I think you should stay here for now. You don't have anything else to do, right? Su Yun looked at Bai Ying with a smile. The arrogant lawyer completely lost his temper. I still have some things to deal with in the law firm. I'd better go back and deal with them first. Now, there's nothing for me to do here. I'm afraid that's not possible, Su Yun said. Lawyer Bai couldn't help but gulp. His expression became nervous. Bureau Chief Nyo, I think that as long as you're a law enforcer, you should be able to sense a problem. This is the basic quality that a law enforcer should have. Su Yun, I suspect that Lawyer Bai is shielding a criminal and is purposely trying to clear the criminal's name. I believe that you can also see this, right? Bureau Chief Nyo was speechless. Bureau Chief Nyo's silence means that you admit it. Su Yun didn't want to give these fellows an excuse to clear their names. I think that we should temporarily detain Lawyer Bai. You don't have the authority. Bai Ying immediately resisted. Whether I have the authority or not, Bureau Chief Nyo has the final say. Su Yun said calmly, as long as I'm here, I guarantee that Zhang Shanmin won't be able to escape from any of those crimes. Bureau Chief Nyo looked at Lawyer Bai awkwardly. However, Lawyer Bai didn't seem to give up. No matter who it is, they have the right to be defended by a lawyer. Until now, you still think that you can clear Zhang Shanmin's name, right? Su Yun, Lawyer Bai, I want to tell you that in this world, there will always be someone better than you. I believe that you've heard of the most famous lawyers in the country, Lawyer Shen and Lawyer Liu, right? I'm sorry, but I know them. Lawyer Bai's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. These two could be said to be the leading figures in Hua Xia's legal world. What was even more precious was that these two were exceptionally upright. Even though the two of them were under tremendous pressure and personal risks, they still dared to bravely reveal the truth of the matter. They exposed the darkness and whipped the ugliness so that those who abused their power would have scruples and not dare to do as they pleased. They were the role models of Hua Xia's lawyers, but there were too few of them. Not all Hua Xia's lawyers are in cahoots with the court's procuratorate. The court's procuratorate will introduce clients to them, and the lawyers will charge them exorbitant fees. Then, the lawyers will split the money with the court's procuratorate informant. Su Yun said calmly, not all lawyers who earn big money from litigation have informants in the court's procuratorate. Lawyer Bai's knees were already turning to jelly. Not all lawyers are greedy and shameless. Not all lawyers will bribe the judge. Not all lawyers are like you, a cancer in Hua Xia society, a chronic disease that affects the justice system. Not all lawyers are daring, self-righteous, immoral, greedy bastards who treat the law like dirt. Su Yun continued, Hua Xia is so big, there are still many lawyers with morals and humanity. A shady lawyer like you is the real piece of trash that should be eradicated. Hearing this, Lawyer Bai was completely paralyzed on the ground. If those national-level lawyers came, he really had no chance of winning. Moreover, Su Yun had mentioned 2 powerful big shots. They were the super big shots in the legal world in his eyes. Director Niu knew that Bai Ying had been dragged into a trap by Zhang Shunyao. He quickly ordered, "Take Lawyer Bai in first. Getting to the bottom of this matter is the most important thing." "Director Niu, you can't do this." Bai Ying was stunned. If he was detained now, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape when things got serious. If Director Niu let him go now, he still had a chance to escape. Director Niu shook his head helplessly. "Did you forget that I gave?" Bai Ying's eyes were filled with disappointment and despair. Director Niu obviously wouldn't give him the chance to finish his sentence. He raised his voice and scolded, "Take him in now." Chapter 33-31. Lawyer Bai knew that Director Niu was about to give up on him, so he did not want to let Director Niu off easy. "Director Niu, since it's not going to work out, why did you take the 200,000 from me?" As soon as he said that, Chief Niu glared at him. "Don't spout nonsense." The speaker had the intention, and so did the listener. From the moment Su Yun saw Director Niu, he knew that Director Niu's pockets were not clean. Now that Lawyer Bai was arguing with him, it seemed like Director Niu knew that he was unpardonable. Even if he had to die, he would drag Director Niu down with him. As long as Zhang Shanfei's matter was exposed, Lawyer Bai would not be able to escape from the crime of covering up. Would he care about adding another crime of bribery? Moreover, he would not dare to cover up for someone who was not under his protection. It was obvious that someone was taking bribes. That was why he dared to cover up for someone. Doing so would reduce his crime. After all, Bai Ying was a lawyer. In this regard, he was very clear about how to make his sentence lighter. "Whether I'm spouting nonsense or not, just ask them to check your office drawer. There's 200,000 in the ICBC bank card ending with 1588. Not a cent more, not a cent less. I just opened an account and transferred the money before I came here. The password is your daughter's birthday, 980,213. Lawyer Bai glared. He was going to argue with Director Niu. Don't listen to his nonsense. Director Niu's forehead was sweating. "There's no bank card in my desk. There's no such thing. He's spouting nonsense. This guy really has ulterior motives." "Wait, both of you wait. Weren't you good friends just a moment ago? Why are you fighting like this in the blink of an eye?" Su Yun said, "It's not that bad. It's really not that bad. Let's sit down and talk." As long as Bai Ying could drag Director Niu down, his crime would be reduced by at least half. As a lawyer, he naturally knew that. There's nothing to talk about. He's going to hit me when I'm down. I can't be used by him. Lawyer Bai said, "I've seen it clearly now. I'm afraid I've been used. I'll take the initiative to confess everything." Director Niu glared as if he wanted to eat Bai Ying. "Who used you? Speak clearly, who's using you? Don't slander me. Do you know who I am? Yes, you are the bureau chief. Of course, we, the little lawyers, have to listen to you. Otherwise, I can't always give you gifts." Bai Ying pressed on. Bull ****. Bureau Chief Niu flew into a rage out of humiliation. Because of his guilty conscience, he did not dare to face this question directly. "I'm farting? All right, then your method to prove that I'm farting is very simple. Bring them to your office to see if there is a bank card in the drawer." Bai Ying was determined to drag Bureau Chief Niu down today. Of course, Bureau Chief Niu would not agree. "It's normal for me to have a bank card in my drawer." There were many people with bank cards in the drawer. "That's my card." "Wait a minute, Chief Niu. I have something I don't know if I should ask." Su Yun interrupted Bureau Chief Niu. "You said that the bank card is yours. Then how did he know the ending number of your bank card? How did he know the password of your bank card? This doesn't make sense. He's just spouting nonsense." Director Niu quibbled. "Then why don't you bring us to have a look?" Su Yun said, If the card doesn't match, then he is spouting nonsense. What you are doing is violating my right to privacy. Bureau Chief Nyo naturally objected to this with both hands. I will never allow anyone to go through my things. Su Yun smiled. If you don't let us have a look, then I will call the Discipline Inspection Committee now. Their inspection shouldn't be considered an invasion of privacy, right? Don't. What are you trying to do? The leaders of the Discipline Inspection Committee are very busy. They have a lot of things to attend to every day. Why are you troubling them with such a small matter? Isn't this causing trouble for the country? We can solve this kind of small matter by ourselves. If you don't believe me, then I'll take you to have a look and expose this guy with ulterior motives. There's no need to alarm the Discipline Inspection Committee. Director Nyo's rejection was quite straightforward, and his agreement was also quite swift. Okay. Su Yun nodded. As long as this guy reached out and took it, no matter if it was a leader of the Discipline Inspection Committee or not, any ordinary person would have the right to give him 2 slaps as long as they had the evidence. Moreover, Su Yun was a person with a military rank. Bai Ying looked like a villain who had achieved success. He smiled proudly. If he wanted to hit him when he was down, then he would also play the trick of burning the bridge after crossing the river. Although he didn't cross the river, he still wanted to tear it down. Bai Ying wanted to let him take on everything. He wanted to enjoy his life alone. Dream on. Lin Ji's speed was fast. As soon as he entered the door, he went directly to the desk and opened the drawer. Bureau Chief Nyo didn't react in time. He ran over and couldn't stop him. Lin Gu reached out and took out a bunch of bank cards. I can't tell. Bureau Chief Nyo, your ability to eat and take cards is really not small. Lin Gu smiled. There are so many bank cards. Can you use them all? These are all handled by me, Bureau Chief Nyo said seriously. You have to know my identity. I'm a civil servant of the country. I have a stable job. I'm an elite of society. I'm the most stable customer of the bank. Therefore, the bank will look for me to open a card. This is because they need performance to look for me to do business. I'm serving the people. Serving the people. Lin Gu nodded and started to look for the cards. There were cards from big state-owned banks such as the Industrial and Commercial Bank, the Construction Bank, and the Agricultural Bank. Then there were cards from China Merchants Bank, Bank of Communications, Everbright Bank, Minxing Bank, CITIC Bank, and local banks. There were even more messy ones. The sweat on Bureau Chief Nyo's forehead had already rolled down his face. Can you stop looking? These are all my personal belongings. Su Yun smiled and asked, Bureau Chief Nyo, your heart is big enough. So many banks have money in them. This is called risk differentiation. Bureau Chief Nyo didn't know how to explain, so he came up with this word. Risk. Differentiation? What's the risk of the money in the bank? Su Yun asked. Are you kidding? Bureau Chief Nyo replied seriously. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Lehman Brothers, and Bear Stearns. These are the 5 most famous banks in the world. 3 of them had collapsed. How can I not be worried? Oh, you know a lot about the international economy. Su Yun said. Bureau Chief Nyo nodded. Of course, he will be moving out in the future. Of course, he must know where his assets are safe. After all, the US is an evil capitalist country. He must know where his money is safe. Bear Stearns was acquired by J.P. Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch was acquired by U.S. Imperial Bank, and Lehman Brothers applied for bankruptcy protection. I know about these things. Bureau Chief Nyo said seriously. I know some things about the capitalist market. Then you must be tired of living in a socialist country. Su Yun sneered, since you're so worried, and you know that such a big foreign bank can be finished just like that, you still dare to put your money in those domestic private banks? Aren't you afraid that they will also go bankrupt? Nothing is certain these days. It's just like investing in the financial market. It will collapse any time. Do you know how many people's money had been scammed? Over 1 trillion RMB had disappeared because of this. Bureau Chief Nyo swallowed his saliva. Speaking of this, Bureau Chief Nyo felt guilty. He had asked a friend to set up a Li Feng investment management company because his friend had given him a big card. His friend's name is Zhang Li Feng, and he is a reputable local. He used to be the deputy secretary of the political and legal committee. Now, he is retired, and he had come up with such lousy ideas to scam money. After the investment management company was set up, Zhang Li Feng used the excuse of helping his clients manage their finances to cheat his friends and relatives to invest in the company. He then cheated his friends and relatives to cheat their friends. Zhang Li Feng's interest was many times higher than the bank's. He also gave interest in advance and immediately gave interest to the investors. Just like that, he had scammed tens of millions of yuan. After that, his whole family was living a good life. His children had all found good jobs. His daughter even got a big BMW when she got married. This person's son-in-law was even from the Public Security Bureau. He ate, drank, and played very comfortably every day. One look and anyone could tell that he was a super-rich second-generation heir. Suddenly, all the money was gone, and Zhang Li Feng closed his doors and refused to meet the investors. Even if someone in the investor's family was seriously ill and needed the money to save his life, Zhang Li Feng's face darkened. He closed the door and became a deadbeat. Don't even think about getting a single cent from him. Zhang Li Feng had ruined many innocent people's families. But because Zhang Li Feng used to be a member of the political and legal committee, he had strong connections in the leader's circle. He was powerful, and no one in the local government could sue him. That's why he could live a carefree life. Chapter 33-32. In fact, the real reason for this kind of financial scam was the negligence of the regulatory authorities. Otherwise, how could the common people be deceived? Just look at the reports on the internet. What ya? What Ren Bao? What Jin? A series of so-called large financial platforms had been exposed one after another. It was a shocking sight. Why would there be such a thing as financial management? Why did people manage their finances? It was very simple. It was because money was becoming less and less valuable. The common people were not stupid. They knew that the interest of saving money in the bank was not enough to keep up with the speed of inflation. Money was worthless. It was getting less and less valuable year by year. 10,000 yuan could cover 1 year's expenses this year. After a year in the bank, there would be an additional 300 yuan in interest, which would be 10,300 yuan. However, 10,000 yuan plus 300 yuan would only cover 10 months' expenses after a year. It was such a straightforward and simple truth. Even the uneducated common people understood that saving money in the bank would not make them money at all. Instead, they would lose money. The rich people were the ones who would take out loans. To make a simple and straightforward analogy, in the real estate market after the Olympics, a person took out a loan of 100 million yuan this year to renovate a residential area. 5 years later, the house prices had increased by 5 times. 100 million yuan was sold for 500 million yuan. He still had to pay the bank 200 million yuan and still had 300 million yuan left. Even if the money used for gifts and connections was deducted, the person would still have at least 150 million yuan left. What about the common people? During the Olympics, 200,000 yuan could buy a house. They could not bear to buy it and saved it in the bank. 5 years later, the bank did give them 40 to 50,000 yuan in interest. This seemed to be a lot. But 5 years ago, 200,000 yuan could buy a house. Now, 250,000 yuan could only buy a toilet, and it was the kind without windows. That was the logic. These scammers seized the opportunity when the common people also understood this logic and created such an investment and financial management scam. Why did the investment and financial management scam become popular when housing prices were rising? It was nothing more than the common people looking for a place with high returns so that their money could catch up with housing prices as soon as possible. They wanted to be able to afford a house and not let the money in their hands depreciate. It was for this reason that investment and financial management were popular all over the country. But would the common people believe such a good thing that fell from the sky in the beginning? Obviously, with the degree of caution of the common people in Huaxia, if a stranger said such a good thing, no one would believe it. The common people were not stupid. They were all shrewd. Then, what did these investors do to make the people believe them? It was even simpler. The investors only needed to build a good relationship with the local leaders and get them to start saving money, so that the leaders could create an illusion for the people, and the people would believe them. The commoners said, "Aya, that's some leader's money in there. How dare the investor run away?" Even if he was given 10 guts, he wouldn't dare to run. If the leaders dared to save money, the commoners dared to do the same. However, there was one thing that the commoners could not understand. Did the leaders still need to save money? The leader did not save money, and these people dared not to give the leader money? How could the relevant departments not investigate a company with incomplete procedures that did not comply with the laws and regulations? Wouldn't the leaders glare at him? To put it bluntly, it was because some leaders could still receive money even if they didn't save money that these scams existed. It was even more ridiculous that there was no one monitoring the financial fraud platform on the internet. If the people from the Internet Surveillance Bureau had even the slightest interest in it, they would not have caused so many people to lose tens of billions of yuan just like that, right? They would stare at a web novel all day long and close the book at the drop of a hat. The words they wrote would be asterisk 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 at the drop of a hat. Even if there wasn't any meaning to it, they would still make it seem that way. Did they not see how crazy the pornographic websites were these years? Even legitimate websites would have pornographic windows popping up every day. Live streaming websites had no ***king bottom line. Let's make a bet. If you opened a live streaming platform in this year, at least 9 out of 10 female streamers would expose their cleavage, 8 would expose their legs, 7 would expose their waists, 6 would expose their mouths, 5 would tell dirty jokes, 4 would talk about flirting, 3 would talk about sex, 2 would dare to show their bottom line by pulling out their hair, and 1 would dare to accidentally expose herself. Wasn't that right? Not to mention the serious ones, even if they exposed their cleavage, they would be able to expose themselves for others to see. If a novel writer wrote *****, the pinion in front would turn into words, and it would immediately become *****. Therefore, this supervision was not used to the point of a knife's edge. They only cared about trivial matters. The things that really damaged the country's image and led the young people astray were not severely punished. Many books that promoted positive energy were repeatedly banned. Not to mention others, just take Monster Soldier King, which promoted patriotism and positive energy, for example. If you used the mobile company's MeGoo reading platform to search for it, it would definitely show that, due to the relevant laws and regulations of the country, this book is temporarily not available for reading. What kind of rule was this? Was the money not enough? If it weren't for the fear of being banned, who knew how many people would have stood up to resist? If the authorities in charge of supervision had the time, they should have taken care of those pornographic websites that the wildfire can't burn out the wildfire, and the spring breeze will come again. Don't take the taxpayers' money and not do the facts. Were they afraid that the punishment would be too severe, and they would not be able to find a place to appreciate and learn the unlocking posture in the future? Director Nyo, the ending number of 1588 matches. At this time, Lin Ge had already found the bank card. He handed the bank card to Su Yun. Su Yun took the card and smiled. Director Nyo, what else do you have to say? I have so many cards, he could have just randomly guessed one. Director Nyo said seriously. This is very likely a kind of luck. Aya, you really won't give up until you see the Yellow River. You won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Su Yun was really impressed. He couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Then what if he got the password right? Then it would still be a lucky guess? The corner of Director Nyo's mouth trembled a few times. Of course it would still be the case. As a father, I would definitely use my daughter's birthday as the password. This is human nature. Many people are like this. It's not strange that he could guess it right, right? Director Nyo, if that's the case, Lawyer Bai is really attentive to you. He even knows your daughter's birthday. This kind of good friend is rare in today's society. Su Yun said, he's such a good friend, and you still want to add insult to injury? Lawyer Bai understood the meaning behind Su Yun's words. Once again, his face showed the smug expression of a villain. In this day and age, many people were psychopaths. Lawyer Bai was one of them. He was the kind of person who couldn't bear to see others better than him. This kind of person's heart was quite dark. Many people admitted that they were this kind of person. They were that dark, that they couldn't bear to see others look at them, that they were that shameless. I really don't know him that well. I'm afraid he found out all this himself. It has nothing to do with me at all. Director Nyo hurriedly tried to distance himself from Lawyer Bai. Now that he was with a lawyer who had covered up crimes, he would definitely be treated as a protective umbrella. Although Director Nyo usually collected money happily, when it came to this kind of thing, he knew in his heart how severe the punishment of the country was. Once he was caught red-handed, he would definitely be done for. It has nothing to do with him at all. He even knows how much money you have in your bank account. Su Yun clapped his hands. Looks like this Lawyer Bai is no ordinary person. He's an immortal cultivator and a fortune teller. Just because of a disagreement, he managed to calculate your fortune. I have to hand over someone like him to the State Council. I'll bring him to Zongnanhai tomorrow. He's a national treasure. Director Nyo wasn't in the mood to joke. His face was so ugly that it looked like he had just swallowed a big mouthful of hot shit. Alright, Lawyer Bai, since you're so good at reading fortunes, then tell me if Marilyn Monroe's death has anything to do with President Kenny and his brother. You should be able to tell what's wrong with this matter, right? Even the American Empire's agents, who were #1 in the world in terms of numbers and skills, didn't know about this matter, let alone a mere lawyer like Bai Ying. Bai Ying was speechless. Looks like you're still not the real deal. Su Yun shook his head. Then how do you know so much about Director Nyo? Could it be that he's your agent? The two of you are actually a real-life couple? When Director Nyo heard this, he felt as if a basin of sh*t had been placed on his head. He hurriedly tried to explain himself. He and Zhang Shanfei are the real couple. Wait, what's a couple? He didn't even know what it meant, yet he was in such a hurry to explain. It could be seen how afraid Director Nyo was of being involved with them. A couple is a couple of beers. Beers and skewers are the most suitable pairing. Lin Gu explained seriously. I'm not a skewer. He's not a beer either. Even if he's a beer, it's still Zhang Shanfei who's a skewer. Director Nyo said sternly. Don't drag these dirty things onto me. Chapter 33-33. Just as Bureau Chief Nyo was trying his best to distance himself from these people, someone suddenly rushed into his office without even knocking on the door. Bureau Chief Nyo was scared to death. He thought it was someone from the Discipline Inspection Commission. He said unhappily, "Don't you know how to knock before coming in? Why are you in such a panic? Could it be that someone in your family died?" Sometimes, some people's mouths seem to have been blessed. What they said was very accurate. Someone really died. However, the person who died was not someone else's, but someone in Bureau Chief Nyo's family. Nyo. Bureau Chief Nyo. Your daughter is in trouble. She couldn't be resuscitated. The subordinate looked at Bureau Chief Nyo in a panic. He was afraid that his leader would not be able to accept the news in such a short period of time. Bureau Chief Nyo's brain buzzed. All the anxiety and uneasiness earlier was nothing compared to this news. He, old Nyo, had lived for more than half of his life. Everything was for his daughter. Yet, today, he received such a shocking piece of news. No matter how many jerks Bureau Chief Nyo had done, as a father, he was completely paralyzed in his chair at this moment. What happened? Tell me clearly. Although Su Yun did not like Bureau Chief Nyo at all, as a father, he still pitied and sympathized with him. This The man was still hesitating. Look at your leader. Why don't you tell me clearly? Lin Gu said, although we are outsiders, we are not heartless bastards who would laugh at other people's tragedies. Tell me, what happened? Where is she? Bureau Chief Nyo was trembling. He wanted to stand up, but he had no strength. He could not support his body with his hands. She should have been placed in the morgue by now. I am here to pick you up. Bureau Chief Nyo's eyes were bloodshot. After being suppressed and silent for a while, he suddenly exploded. What happened? How did she die? Who is it? Who is it? It's because of drugs. It wasn't easy for the man to come to a decision. She was singing in a karaoke room on the 8th floor of a shopping mall with a few people. She overdosed on cocaine and then she had hallucinations. She rushed out of the room and out of the window of the karaoke hall. She fell from the 8th floor and died on the spot. Chief Nyo's face was pale and his eyes were lifeless. Obviously, he couldn't accept this sudden news. The faces of the Anti-Narcotics Brigade's brothers immediately changed. Another life was lost because of this harmful thing. For a moment, he was angry and remorseful. Su Yun and Lin Gu also glanced at each other. Su Yun also remembered clearly what Lin Gu had said to Lin Gu just now. Whether the controller of the local poison source was Zhang Shanling or not, Su Yun immediately fell into deep thought. The silent bureau chief Nyo suddenly flew into a rage. He stepped forward and grabbed the collar of the Anti-Narcotics Brigade's brother. He raised his arm and punched him in the face. Lin Gu quickly pulled him away. Xia Qiuyu and Yang Ye also quickly blocked the Anti-Narcotics Brigade's brothers behind them to prevent the conflict from happening any further. What is your Anti-Narcotics Brigade doing? You are all a bunch of trash. A bunch of good-for-nothings. A bunch of useless bastards. Bureau Chief Nyo vented all his sadness and anger on an unrelated person in front of him. Of course, in Bureau Chief Nyo's eyes, the other party wasn't an unrelated person. If they could wipe out all the drug dealers at the border, then today's incident wouldn't have happened. The Anti-Narcotics Brigade's brothers didn't seem to think that he was an unrelated person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the punch just now. He had the time and reaction to dodge it, but he didn't. The self-blame deep in his heart made him willingly take the punch. This incident made him feel that the Anti-Narcotics Brigade's work was far from perfect. The self-denial in his heart made him unable to dodge Bureau Chief Nyo's punch. Bureau Chief Nyo shouted hysterically. He wanted to step forward, but he was blocked by his own people. Don't you think you are responsible? Su Yun looked at Bureau Chief Nyo and said calmly, if you did your job well and severely cracked down on criminal activities, do you think the drug source would still dare to grow in the city under your jurisdiction? Would your daughter still be harmed? Bureau Chief Nyo heard this and sat down heavily on the chair again. If you did your job well as a father, would your daughter still have gone astray? Su Yun continued, have you ever thought about how many mistakes you have made? Bureau Chief Nyo's eyes were empty. Su Yun made him feel that he had caused his daughter's death, that he had become a murderer. I will tell you clearly now. When I saw Zhang Shantian, I noticed that he is very likely to be a drug addict. Combined with his local situation and his local strength, I can even suspect that he has an inseparable relationship with the local drug source. Su Yun, Bureau Chief Nyo, if the drugs your daughter bought were really related to Zhang Shantian, what would you think? Bureau Chief Nyo's heart collapsed even more. All these years, he had always turned a blind eye to Zhang Shantian's actions. For his own benefit, he had always relaxed his control over Zhang Shantian. If Zhang Shantian was really the city's drug source, as a father, he wouldn't be able to atone for his sins even if he died 10,000 times. Go and arrest him. Arrest Zhang Shantian. Bureau Chief Nyo stared and said, go and search. Every place related to Zhang Shantian, every house related to him, everything. Investigate all of them. Investigate thoroughly. At this time, nothing he did would help. Even though Bureau Chief Nyo knew very well, he couldn't control his emotions. Bureau Chief Nyo, Zhang Shantian, is in the hospital. The person beside him reminded him. Why would a scumbag like him go to the hospital? Bureau Chief Nyo slammed the table and stood up. Bring him back. Bring him back. I want to interrogate him personally. Yes. Su Yun looked at the pitiful father in front of him, the despicable bureau chief. His heart was filled with melancholy. It was true that a pitiful person would always have a detestable side. He only had himself to blame for the outcome of his daughter's situation today. No. I don't have time to interrogate him. I want to find my daughter. Bring me to my daughter. Bureau Chief Nyo panicked and ran out of the door. Where is my daughter? Bring me to her quickly. I want to see her now. I don't believe that she is dead. She must be joking with me. You don't know, she is a very naughty child. She likes to scare me and joke with me normally. I know she is lying to me. Bureau Chief Nyo, who was a little confused, was stumbling. Lin Guo wanted to stop him, but Su Yun waved his hand, indicating that he should not interfere. Although this person was a good-for-nothing who neglected his duties, he was still a father when it came to the life and death of his loved ones. As a father, he should go and see his daughter for the last time, even though she was no longer around. Moreover, Su Yun had decided to contact the Commission for Discipline Inspection. He believed that the Commission for Discipline Inspection would be more interested in Bureau Chief Nyo's case. The office was only so big, he couldn't run away. Giving him a chance to see his daughter's tragic state might make him reflect, let him know that his inaction was the cause of today's tragedy. No lesson could be more profound than this. Before Bureau Chief Nyo left the office, he turned around and glared at Su Yun and the others. My daughter is going abroad soon. I have been accompanying her today. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have left her alone outside, and all this wouldn't have happened. After Bureau Chief Nyo left, Lawyer Bai wanted to take advantage of the situation to escape, but Su Yun stopped him. You shouldn't leave. That's not your daughter, Su Yun said. I have a child too. Lawyer Bai's expression was bitter. I know I did something wrong. I hope I can see my family. Please give me a chance. You won't die for this crime. Su Yun said, if you can take the initiative to confess all of Zhang Shanli's crimes and provide some evidence, you might be able to get a lenient sentence. You're a lawyer. You know the law better than I do. Lawyer Bai was silent. For what you have done, a heavier sentence can give you a reprieve. You are an accomplice of an extremely evil person. Normally, you would be given a life sentence, right? Su Yun said, if you want to come out and accompany your family for the rest of your life, then take the initiative to confess and provide evidence that can help the law punish Zhang Shanli. Lawyer Bai squatted on the floor and buried his head in between his legs. You should know these things better than I do, so I won't waste my breath on you. Think about it carefully. Su Yun said, if you don't want to disappoint your child, you should set an example for your child. If you make a mistake, you have to admit it. This is the most basic way to teach your child how to be a good person. Chapter 33-34. Xia Choyu's heart was heavy. She never thought that she would encounter such a thing here. If it weren't for the two of them meddling in the hotel, they might not have been involved in such a shocking case. If Xia Choyu and Yang Ye hadn't meddled in other people's business, Zhang Shanli wouldn't have appeared. If Zhang Shanli hadn't appeared, no one would have paid attention to the crippled beggar's matter, and Su Yun and Lin Guo wouldn't have been angered by it. Director Nyo wouldn't have left his daughter behind to deal with this matter. His daughter wouldn't have invited those dubious friends to go to the drugstore, and this kind of thing wouldn't have happened. Of course, Xia Choyu wasn't the cause of this chain of events, but Xia Choyu was the fuse for everything. This made her feel uneasy. This has nothing to do with you. You don't have to blame yourself. Su Yun could see Xia Choyu's bad mood. Even if it wasn't for us, something would have happened to this girl. It has nothing to do with you. But Director Nyo's words aren't without reason. If it wasn't for us, he would have stayed with his daughter. That way, the girl wouldn't have gotten involved with those things and wouldn't have hallucinated and jumped off the building. This was what Xia Qiuyu couldn't get over. Su Yun shook his head. Some things can't be quit once you get involved. Even if nothing happened to her today, something will happen in the future. It wasn't that Su Yun didn't have love for this girl, but this girl was about to be sent overseas by Director Niu. Thinking about it, she couldn't even control herself in the country. What would happen if she went overseas? There were more of these things overseas, and her father would only give her money. Would she quit if her financial situation allowed for it? That was obviously impossible. The two scariest things in the world were things that couldn't be quit once they were hooked. One was drugs, and the other was gambling. If you got involved, you would either die or go crazy. If you didn't go crazy, you would be imprisoned. It was only a matter of time before your family was destroyed. Chicken Soup for the Soul said that as long as you were willing to climb, even if it was drug addiction, as long as you had confidence, perseverance, and courage, you could quit. However, anyone who used their brains would be able to understand. Could a person who would get involved in drugs have perseverance? If he really had the perseverance to abide by his bottom line, he wouldn't have touched this thing at all. The scary thing about drug addiction was that it could make the dopamine secretion in the brain go out of control. When a person does anything pleasant or exciting, the brain will produce dopamine, which is a substance that produces a sense of excitement. If the amount of dopamine produced from doing something reached a certain level and exceeded a person's willpower, they would not be able to control themselves and continue doing it. And drug addiction was something that allowed dopamine to break through human willpower. Even his willpower had achieved a breakthrough, so how was he supposed to control it? There were many things that made people excited. People who liked excitement went to the amusement park to ride roller coasters, foodies who could not stop eating ice cream, all of which could make people produce dopamine. However, this could all be maintained within a normal range. However, drug addiction would cause the dopamine to completely exceed and suppress a person's willpower. It would produce a kind of reflex and cause the person to do it uncontrollably. This kind of reflex was too strong. It could be said that no one could control themselves from not wanting to enjoy it again. Many people might not know how exciting this kind of excitement was. Well, there were experts who said that drug addiction made people produce dopamine 30 times more than the dopamine produced when a man and a woman rolled in the sheets. 30 times. Think about it, what kind of feeling was that? Even a saint would not be able to control himself from not wanting to do it again, right? What did it mean to abstain? It meant to never do it again. Quitting smoking meant not smoking. Quitting alcohol meant not drinking. If anyone felt that their willpower was strong enough, then they could try to quit rolling in the sheets. Not rolling in the sheets for a lifetime. Was that possible? Rolling in the sheets was definitely something that could happen a second time. Those who had never rolled in the sheets had never been conquered by two hands. It was also the kind of dopamine that exceeded 30 times. Think about it, who would be able to control it? It was simply impossible. Therefore, it was absolutely impossible to quit this kind of thing. There was an experiment where a device that stimulated dopamine was implanted in a rat's brain. Then, the device was connected to a button that the rat could touch. Then, the rat would press the button without sleep or food until it starved to death. Therefore, people had to control the control of their excitement within a range that could be controlled. However, drug addiction was uncontrollable. Those who were addicted to drugs would buy drugs as soon as they had money. A rational person would not seek death. If the mouse had never touched the button, it would not have been willing to starve to death just to press the button. Su Yun was very clear that there was no cure for it if it was touched. That was why he said those words. Even if nothing happened to Director Niu's daughter in the country, she would still die of drug addiction when she went abroad. There was no doubt about it. It was a fact that could not be changed. No one could change it. Whether this matter has anything to do with me or not, I feel very uncomfortable in my heart. Xia Qiuyu sighed. It's my first time experiencing a death caused by this kind of thing. Even if I don't even know the person, I still feel sorry. After all, she's just a young girl. Don't think so much. Yang Ye gently hugged Xia Qiuyu's shoulder. This is really not your fault. Xia Qiuyu silently lowered her head. Although their family's matter is a bit tragic, this Niu guy still has to be sentenced. Lin Ge said, probably because of this matter, he should also plead guilty. His crime of neglecting his duty is not small. Su Yun also nodded. I'm afraid he won't be able to come out in this lifetime. If he had a daughter outside, he would still be worried about her. Now that this matter has happened, he can really be carefree. Although Lin Ji's words were a little harsh, it was true when one thought about it. It was the truth, and he didn't mean anything else. The gathering of all the beggars in the city had very shocking results in just 2 hours. There were already more than 2,600 beggars gathered. Although there were a few who struggled and escaped, most of them were still brought back. After some simple questioning, it was found that these people were all members of the beggar sect under Zhang Shantian's control. Everyone called Zhang Shantian the leader. Their daily necessities, whether it was food, clothing, housing, or transportation, were all managed by Zhang Shantian. Every day, all the money they asked for on the streets was handed over to the finance department. They did not have any freedom to use it. In other words, these people did not have a single cent of their own savings. If someone behaved well when asking for money, Zhang Shantian's most generous reward was a roasted chicken called when something li. This brand of roasted chicken was quite good. It should have a background. Otherwise, the health department would have investigated it. A lifestyle program even exposed that there were maggots in this brand of roasted chicken. But nothing happened and they still opened it. Sometimes, even these disabled beggars did not eat it. Because when they opened it, there was a disgusting smell. It was not roasted chicken at all. It was just horse flea chicken. When the oppressed crippled beggars were told that Zhang Shanli had been arrested by the police, they were all silent. They didn't know what else to say, and all of them had tears streaming down their faces. They originally thought that they would live in darkness for the rest of their lives. Who would have thought that they would have a chance to escape from the clutches of the devil? The government was still the best. The leaders of the government arrested Zhang Shantian and the government's army saved them. This day would be the happiest day of their lives. Although most people's disabilities could never be changed, they still felt happy that they had the chance to see the light. Many people even felt that even if they died immediately, their lives were worth it. At least they had obtained freedom before they died. They could not believe it. Who knew how many people did not obtain freedom even after death? The silent tears were enough to move anyone present. The relevant departments also came to investigate and count, thinking of ways to help those who were cheated and sold to find their families and relatives. Those who were originally homeless felt happy for those who could be reunited. Although they didn't have families and didn't know when they would be living on the streets again after a few mouthfuls of food, they still wished those who could find a home. This kind of touching was enough to shock people. Chapter 33-35. The anti-drug work was also in progress. After a careful inspection and search, they finally found thousands of grams of drugs and tens of thousands of pills in a remote villa on the outskirts of the city. In addition to these, there were also many new types of contraband. Many things in this gambling den puzzled the local anti-drug team. In the end, they asked for their brothers from the border anti-drug team to identify them. Su Yun and the others also went with them. Everything they found surprised them. There were bags of things that looked like popping candy packaging. The anti-drug team told them that when they saw these things, they were very confused. After all, these things looked like common goods in the shops in front of elementary schools. However, when they opened them, they knew. They were not the kind of popping candy that could be used to play Desert Storm. This popping candy was a new type of poison that had a strong after-effect. Eating this pack would cause the brain to be in a state of excitement for 2 days. This was also the most effective way for them to develop new customers. After all, many people were unprepared for popping candy and then fell for it. The anti-drug team immediately contacted the publicity department of the local municipal party committee and asked them to spread the news immediately. They told everyone not to buy popping candy. If they ate the wrong thing, their life would be over. There was also a strange thing that was colorful capsules. There were red, orange, yellow, blue, white, gray, green, purple, and all kinds of colors. However, the colors were just a disguise. This kind of capsule was the legendary Zero capsule. After taking it, it would cause harm to the human body's functions, causing euphoria and auditory hallucinations. It was a very scary thing. Some disgusting gays with ulterior motives would secretly give this to men and then make them think that they were women. Then, needless to say, it was definitely a scourge that raised the risk of AIDS. When they saw these, the brothers from the border anti-drug team were really dumbfounded. They did not expect Zhang Shanmin to have such a comprehensive product. This made them somewhat unable to believe it. Of course, in addition to these, there was also the red ice that was relatively popular internationally in the past 2 years. It was the same as the blue ice in the American TV series Breaking Bad. It was also a kind of red ice that used a new process to purify the toxicity. Its power was at least 2 or 3 times that of ordinary ice. Once a user was infected with the red ice, they would be deeply addicted to the drug. Furthermore, the dosage would continue to increase, and it would be impossible to kick the addiction. Moreover, the International Anti-Drug Organization also claimed that people who encountered this kind of red ice would not live long. Therefore, Hong Bing had been listed as a key target for drug trafficking from the very beginning. This guy obviously did not come from the Golden Triangle. From this point, it could be judged that Zhang Shanfei had a certain connection with other foreign drug dealers. Su Yun also saw a new type of pill. It was a pink pill that was called pistachio. It was even more powerful than the previous shake of the head. What attracted Xia Qiuyu and Yang Ya's attention was the large bag of instant coffee in the corner. They were curious. So much coffee? This isn't coffee at all. This thing is called milk tea powder. It's packaged in a milk tea bag or coffee bag. The main ingredient is ketamine and many other ingredients. It dissolves in water. It's a type of drug. The tools used are simple, and it's not subject to any conditions, the narcotics squad explained. The effects of this drug lasted for a long time, and it was even more tempting to addicts. It was very easy to spread, and it was easy to cause widespread consumption. Of course, Zhang Shanfei did not lack the most powerful bath salts here. This was a kind of drug that could make people completely fall into a state of hallucination and lose their rationality. They would imagine themselves as Superman and attack other people. This guy also sells vegetables? Lin Gu also found something strange. What is this? Amaranth? The border narcotics squad's brother saw it and shook his head. This is not amaranth. It just looks like it. This thing is called khat. When it's fresh, it looks like amaranth. However, there is a difference between it and amaranth. Its stem is red, and the leaves are thinner than amaranth. After it's dried, this kind of khat looks very similar to tea leaves. Although it tastes bitter, it's very confusing. It's also a kind of poison. F***ck, people nowadays are really taking a variety of drugs. Lin Gu shook his head. They really dare to play with anything. Su Yun also sighed. It was really impossible to guard against it. These new drugs are very confusing, and the effects of the toxicity last for a long time. It's very tempting. Su Yun frowned. We should publicize more to let the general public know, especially those young people who don't know much about the world. When they encounter drinks and snacks provided by strangers, they should not simply eat them. We must strengthen our defenses. That's right. Your narcotics bureau should go to schools to publicize more. If you have nothing to do, you should publicize it in society. How many people were unknowingly tricked and got addicted to drugs? Xia Qiuyu nodded vigorously. This must be publicized more. If it's just these, I feel that it's very dangerous. It's impossible to guard against it. Lin Gu looked at these messy things and couldn't help but curse. Some people's hearts are really F***king black these days. The people who researched these harmful things were usually talents in chemistry. These bastards didn't put their thoughts on the right path. Instead, they researched these harmful things. After they were caught, they must be shot. It could be said that their deaths were not unjust at all. These things are obviously made to deceive those young people who don't know much about the world. Su Yun. Especially these kinds of popping candy and coffee packaging. They looked like food and drink. The younger the child, the harder it was to distinguish them. From these things, it could be seen how scheming Zhang Shanfei was. He would first use these popping candies, milk tea powder, and pistachios to slowly lead the ignorant people into the trap of drug addiction. Then, he would sell the more toxic goods, and finally, they would start taking things like bath salts, red ice, and the like. When they needed these things, they were basically crippled. Just as the drugs were discovered, the place where the crippled beggars were controlled was in chaos. Su Yun received a call informing him that someone had found drugs on the gathered beggars. When this thing appeared, many beggars' eyes lit up. Soon, many people began to yawn. Some even began to lose control and struggled for the drug. This was very shocking. What was taken from the beggars was this kind of popping candy drug. This kind of thing was easy to carry, and it would not kill people as quickly as ruthless drugs like red ice. The cost was also relatively low. Therefore, this thing was Zhang Shanfei's magic weapon to control the beggars. He almost made all the beggars under him addicted to this kind of drug because it was easier for him to control these people. Su Yun finally understood why Zhang Shanfei could control these beggars so easily. With this method as his magic weapon, these beggars definitely couldn't escape from his palm. Zhang Shanfei could be described as having ulterior motives. He didn't treat these beggars' lives as human lives at all. He was completely treating these beggars' lives as a joke. His way of making money could be said to be the most inhumane and despicable way of making money in this world. Zhang Shanfei could think of this way to make money. He was really black-hearted. The beggars' collective drug addiction was a very difficult thing to control. If they weren't careful, it could cause social unrest. Therefore, the commander on the scene immediately made arrangements to gather all the beggars in a detention center. Then, he contacted the experts in the drug rehabilitation center to see the specific situation of these people. Some people's drug addiction was more serious, while some people's drug addiction was less serious. Those who were more serious obviously didn't have strong willpower. However, those who were less addicted probably only had better self-control. As time passed, the strong effects of the drug addiction caused many people to lose control of themselves. This was the scary thing about drugs. After getting addicted, the addicted person wouldn't even recognize his own mother. What addiction to smoking and alcohol was nothing compared to this. It could be imagined that those who couldn't even quit smoking and alcohol had a lot of perseverance. Although alcohol wasn't a drug, once addicted, the harm was the same. Moreover, it was very difficult to completely quit. In the medical textbooks, drug addiction and alcohol addiction were all in the same chapter. They were all drug addictions. In fact, the social harm of alcohol addiction was also very big. Many people's families were broken because of alcohol addiction. After drinking, they lost control and committed drunken driving, killing people by accident. How many fights and deaths were caused by drunkenness? How many car accidents were caused by drunkenness? Alcohol addicts who were addicted to alcohol ended up with many diseases and walked towards death. They drank until they got Parkinson's disease. Every day, their hands trembled. It was a waste of society's resources. This aspect should be controlled. Just like in the 20s and 30s of the last century, the United States had a 14-year alcohol ban. Any production, sale, transportation of drinks with more than 0.5% alcohol content, and drinking in groups were all illegal. Chapter 33-36. The evidence alone was enough for Zhang Shantian to die 100 times over, not to mention that he was also guilty of human trafficking and maiming people. It was finally time for this malignant tumor to be uprooted. Lawyer Bai knew it was impossible to hide the truth, so he confessed everything. He had helped Zhang Shantian many times, so he was more familiar with Zhang Shantian's crimes than anyone else. Director Niu, who had neglected his duties, cried himself unconscious twice at the morgue. He was informed that Zhang Shantian was the biggest drug dealer in the area, and that Zhang Shantian was the boss who controlled the underground industry. Director Niu fainted again when he heard the news. When Director Niu woke up in the hospital after taking oxygen and an 4-drip, the first thing he did was to settle the score with Zhang Shantian. He never thought the son of AB*TCH would do such a thing other than controlling the beggars. Chief Niu blamed himself even more for his daughter. He felt that it was all because of his indulgence towards Zhang Shanfei that led to today's outcome. However, Director Niu did not know Zhang Shantian dared to sell drugs. He had always thought that Zhang Shanli was just a local ruffian who gathered the homeless people on the streets to ask for money from him. He had never thought that Zhang Shanli would actually go outside to abduct people in order to expand his manpower. In order to obtain more benefits, he even crippled ordinary people. Director Niu did not even dare to think about it. After the report came out, Director Niu was really confused. He never thought things would turn out like this. He never thought the son of AB*TCH that he had indulged was not just a little dog, but a vicious wolf that ate people without spitting out the bones. If he had known this would happen, he would not have done it in the first place. Director Niu never thought the consequences were all because of his actions. He was the one who had nurtured this vicious wolf's courage. If Zhang Shanmin had been severely punished by Bureau Chief Niu from the start, he definitely wouldn't have become such a disgusting and evil person like today. In the beginning, Zhang Shanliang was not the biggest drug lord in the area. The last person who controlled the local drug source was found by the narcotics squad 5 years ago and was killed in the process of escaping. It was at that time that Zhang Shanli took over this business. Someone took the initiative to come to her. This was because Zhang Shanli had a very special advantage that no one else had. Zhang Shanmin controlled all the beggars in the area. If she sold the goods through these beggars, it would be easy to get it. No one would pay attention to how much money the people on the street would throw to the beggar. No one would even pay attention to what things the people on the street would throw to the beggar. Therefore, Zhang Shanli was chosen because he could diversify the goods trade. This made the entire transaction even more secretive, completely avoiding the eyes of the police. Moreover, the drug dealers would also observe the strength of the drug dealers when choosing a region's drug dealers. In the local area, Zhang Shantian's strength was definitely one of the best, and his relationship with Chief Niu was also quite close. Although on the surface, no one saw any interaction between the two of them, Bureau Chief Niu never had any intention of investigating or doing anything to Zhang Shanli. The hidden relationship that outsiders couldn't see was very close. This was also why the source of poison, in any city across the country, was often in the hands of the extremely prestigious and ruthless people living in the city. Usually, people with such status would have a good relationship with leaders like Director Niu, who were in charge of things. This was also why they could enjoy it so much. Regarding the underworld problem in society, even if the country increased suppression by 100 times, there would still be a group of people like Director Niu, who would wallow in the mire with scum. Regarding the underworld problem, how many years had it existed in society? After the establishment of the new Huaxia, how could bandits and horses be completely eliminated? It was because of ruthlessness. Now, the underworld groups were actually the same as the bandits of the past, but they were much harder to eliminate than the bandits of the past. This was because the delinquent mentality had deeply influenced several generations. Of course, the average delinquent couldn't be considered a bandit. At least, they had to be at Zhang Shanli's level. What were the delinquents who were deeply influenced by the 70s and 80s thinking in their hearts? A life for a life. If they went to jail, their lives would be ruined. Most of the fights were for revenge. It was nothing more than teaching the other party a lesson. It wasn't that there weren't people who really killed, but there were very few. There were very few in that era. Most of the people in that era were just there to join in the fun and fight. After the fight, they went to eat. It was really a state of idleness. At that time, they were really ruthless people. Their ruthless mentality was that they dared to use 10 years or even the rest of their lives in exchange for an arm. Generally, they wouldn't be caught in the crackdown and be shot to death. The biggest difference between the delinquents now and the delinquents of the past was that they were brave and ruthless. They had a very strong mentality of following blindly. The negative effects of film and television were quite large. How many people were affected by the series of Young and Dangerous? It could be said that after watching it, every boy would have the idea of becoming a delinquent from the bottom of their heart. This brainwashing film was too good. Out of 100 boys, 50 of them would have the idea of becoming a soldier after watching more than 30% of them. After watching those special forces, 60 of them would have the idea of becoming a soldier. This was a very high brainwashing rate, right? But after 100 boys watched Young and Dangerous, 100 of them wanted to be delinquents. 50 of them wanted to be Chan Haonan. 50 of them wanted to be a pheasant. Absolutely no one would think that if they wanted to be a delinquent, would they be like Big B Bro who had his arteries cut with poison needles and powder sprinkled on them? Then, he was forced to swallow the powder and die, and his whole family was buried alive? Would anyone think that they would be like Big B Bro who had his tendons severed? Or that someone would come to his house and rape his wife, and even throw him down from a building? The movie made it clear that these people wouldn't have a good ending. No matter how awesome a person was, there would be a time when they would die a tragic death. But no one paid attention to this point. Everyone's focus was on being a delinquent so that they could beat up whoever they wanted, chop whoever they wanted to chop up whoever they wanted to. How about brotherhood and how they could pick up girls and drink? They didn't see the tragic points at all. Not to mention the boys. Many girls after watching this series of movies would fantasize that they were Little Stutterer. They would only fantasize about being in front of flowers under the moonlight, and not a tragic death scene. Therefore, in recent years, among the delinquents, most of them were the second generation. There were officials, rich people, and of course, there were also poor people. After the second generation of officials and the second generation of rich people fought, their parents would stand up for them. As for the second generation of poor people, no one cared about them and they would be judged. Usually, cases that were deemed as public security cases would be released after a few days. Because there was no money to be made, the Public Security Bureau was unwilling to accept them. Therefore, these two types of people had a plan in their hearts and weren't afraid of trouble. Nowadays, the only thing that mattered was money. 5,000 to buy an arm. Wasn't that enough? Add another 5,000. In this day and age, those who had money, power, and no bottom line were the most powerful. In the past, many delinquents of that era, after the rebellious period of adolescence, returned to the right path. Old Pao's acting was also quite clear. Lu Yi and his group of brothers were the representatives of that era, and the young group of second generations were the representatives of today's delinquents. And in this era, there was probably no such thing as a prodigal son turning over a new leaf. Basically, everyone walked the same path until the end. There was no one who could take a detour and walk the right path again. Although Zhang Shantian wasn't a young man, he was someone who had made a name for himself in this era. In that era he was nothing. Now that he had money, he knew how to use it to make friends with the rich and powerful. He also realized the benefits that the rich and powerful brought him. Therefore, he belonged to the delinquents of this era. He wasn't a simple delinquent. He knew how to use power and money, and not just friendship. It could be said that without Bureau Chief Nio's protection, Zhang Shantian wouldn't be as arrogant as he was today. It was because of all these factors that Zhang Shantian was chosen by the mastermind behind the scenes. Then, he stepped onto this path of no return. In the beginning, Zhang Shantian didn't dare to take on this business. He was also afraid. This thing was too dangerous, and the investigation was so strict. Zhang Shantian knew this in his heart, so he didn't dare to take on this business. But in the end, he couldn't control the temptation of the benefits. The benefits were too great. He couldn't make that much money even if he controlled so many beggars. Moreover, he had so many underlings who could help him with the business. He could even use these goods to control the beggars under him. Why wouldn't he do it? Then, Zhang Shantian walked on this path of no return. He started to use the beggars under him to sell and trade drugs, starting a new chapter of his crime. Chapter 33-37. After listening to the report, Chief Nyo slapped himself hard in the face. This damned Zhang Shanli gave him the most memorable lesson in his life. Zhang Shanli's daring drug business was all because of his connivance. If not for his connivance, how could Zhang Shanli be so daring? The KTV where the incident happened had already been closed down. After investigation, it was discovered that Zhang Shanyao was actually one of the two investors of this KTV. And this KTV also found out that Zhang Shanyao was here, and it wasn't just one item. Chief Nyo's daughter had taken the red ice, which was very strong. She had hallucinated after taking the red ice, and that was why she had jumped off the building. What a sin! Chief Nyo slapped himself again. This KTV was a place that his daughter often went to. He didn't expect that there would be such harmful products secretly sold here. It was also because of him that Director Nyo's own daughter often chose to come to this place to play. Zhang Shanli had given him a diamond membership card here before, and it was filled with 300,000 yuan. 300,000 yuan, for those super-rich second generations, might only be a night's expenditure, but for Chief Nyo, his daughter was only a high school student, and this was a KTV. Even if his daughter often invited her friends to sing, spending 1,000 yuan each time, this 300,000 yuan would be enough to last them for a few years, right? He didn't expect that his daughter would come here because of this membership card, and because of it, she was poisoned. It was all his fault as a father. If he had decisively rejected this harmful product, today's incident wouldn't have happened. Chief Nyo asked someone to check the card's expenditure record, and found that in the short span of 2 years, the original 300,000 yuan in the card had already been spent. His daughter had also recharged the card 3 times. The first time was 100,000 yuan, the second time was 100,000 yuan, and the third time was 200,000 yuan. The last expenditure of the day was 60,000 yuan, and the card was emptied. The expenditure record stated that a bottle of wine cost 10,000 yuan, but the room that his daughter sang in didn't have this kind of wine. Even in this KTV, there were only 2 bottles of this brand of wine. This wine didn't even exist in this KTV, and this wine was just a name. Those who ordered this wine all had red ice. 10,000 yuan for a pack. Director Nyo's daughter had ordered 6 packs at once. No wonder he could be so drunk that he jumped off the building. The 300,000 yuan in his card and the 400,000 yuan he recharged later added up to a total of 700,000 yuan. The KTV's drink list also clearly stated that if one spent more than 10,000 yuan, the room fee and singing fee would be waived. In other words, his daughter had spent all of her 700,000 yuan on this red ice. Chief Nyo pulled his hair fiercely. He finally understood that even if nothing happened to his daughter this time, she was not far from being in trouble. This pack of red ice was enough to destroy a person's bodily functions. His daughter had been inhaling the poison for such a long time, yet he didn't notice at all. As a father, he was really a failure. Those scum of society who led his daughter astray, he must also severely punish them. As long as he still had power, he would make sure that those people were severely punished. He must be punished with the heaviest punishment. They deserved to die for harming his daughter. Unfortunately, Bureau Chief Nyo did not have the authority to do so. Just when he was still in deep sorrow, the people from the Discipline Inspection Commission appeared in front of him. An investigation report was thrown in front of him. The notice from the Discipline Inspection Commission told him that he could put down all his work and accept the investigation because he was suspected of committing no less than 100 violations. From now on, the Discipline Inspection Commission would start to investigate him one by one. Out of the 100 violations, any one of them was enough to get him fired. If all of them were verified, not only would he not be able to keep his black hat, but he would also be in jail for a long time. Can you give me a little more time? Chief Nyo made his last request. I hope that I can have the chance to sentence that bastard Zhang Shanli who harmed my daughter. As long as I can get him in jail, I am willing to die. Chief Nyo, don't tell me you still think that the person who harmed your daughter is Zhang Shanli? The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission couldn't help but frown. The person who caused all of this is you. Chief Nyo's eyes were lifeless. I know it's me, but I still want to arrest him with my own hands. You don't have the right to arrest others anymore. You are now a person who is full of sins. The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission said seriously, "It's your indulgence that made Zhang Shanli's appetite grow bigger and bigger. It's your indulgence that made Zhang Shanli do this kind of business that harmed the country and the people." Chief Niu gritted his teeth and raised his head. "But if I don't sentence him with my own hands, I won't be able to calm down for the rest of my life. Even if I die, I won't be able to rest in peace. As long as you cooperate with our investigation and admit to your crimes, that will be the best explanation for yourself." The Discipline Inspection Commission was impartial, so they wouldn't give him the chance to do so. "I don't have the face to see my daughter like this. I don't even have the face to see her if I am executed." Chief Niu's tears flowed down his face. "I beg you, please give me a chance. Let me take revenge for my daughter. The law will punish Zhang Shanli, and so will you. Don't forget, you are also Zhang Shanli's accomplice in selling the red ice. You are also an indirect murderer. No matter what you do to Zhang Shanli, it won't make up for your mistakes. You don't even have the face to see your dead daughter. If you want to have a face, you should reflect on it." He had to explain everything that he had done in the past few years clearly. Only then will you have the face to see your dead daughter. The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission's words were like a knife cutting through his heart. Chief Niu was silent for a long time. He seemed to have finally understood the reason. Facing the leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission, Chief Niu slowly raised his hands. "Take me away. I will cooperate with your investigation," Chief Niu said calmly. "As long as you cooperate, we are not the law enforcement agency. We don't have handcuffs to handcuff you." The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission was still strict. "Let's go. Get in the car with us and we will talk about it when we get back. You need to reflect on all the wrong things you've done over the years." Chief Niu's emotions were much calmer than before. "Leader, I accept the investigation. But there are a lot of things that I need to deal with regarding my daughter's funeral." Chief Niu shook his head helplessly. "This child is pitiful. Her mother left early. I didn't do a good job as her father. I'm afraid that her grandparents won't be able to accept it when they know about it. Don't worry about that. I have already arranged for people to comfort your grandfather. As for your daughter's matter, the organization will help you deal with it," the leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission said. The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission said, "Your current identity is too special, we have to worry about whether or not you'll escape." Chief Niu nodded and said self-mockingly, Of course. A person like me is indeed not worthy of the organization's trust. But don't worry. After you cooperate with the investigation, I believe that even if you are sentenced, we will find a way to bring you to your daughter's funeral. However, if you want to take care of it slowly, I'm afraid that we won't be able to help you achieve it." "Thank you, leader. I am already satisfied that I have the chance to send her off. I will go with you. I will go now. I will cooperate with all your investigations." Chief Niu's heart was completely relaxed. The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission nodded with satisfaction. "Then, you have to perform well and cooperate well." "Okay." Chief Niu nodded. "I will cooperate with all the investigations of the Discipline Inspection Commission. But what we want to investigate is not only your personal problems. We even want to investigate some other people who are related to you. We want to know if there are any problems in terms of dereliction of duty and integrity," the leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission said. In this regard, the leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission was obviously a little worried in this regard. Chief Niu was completely hopeless, but at this time, he might not reveal too many people who were wallowing in the mire with him. However, Chief Niu agreed very quickly. "I will tell all the things that my colleagues who have violated discipline with me have done. I don't want any leader in our country to be a bastard like me. If there are no bastards like me, our society will be more stable and harmonious. That way, our development will be even faster." "Comrade Niu, your awareness is very high. Very good. The leader of the Discipline Inspection Commission couldn't help but praise him. Chapter 33-38. Zhang Shantian's nose was broken by Su Yun, his wrist was broken, his shoulder was cracked, his head was split open, and his ankle was swollen like a big bun. He was wrapped in several layers of gauze in the hospital. Although it was not exaggerated to the point of being a mummy, it was close. Hey, slow down, slow down. Zhang Shantian's attitude on the hospital bed was still quite arrogant. He flipped out at the young nurse. Are you blind? Can't you see that my foot is also injured? You even King touched it. Touch. The young nurse felt wronged. I just came to check if the swelling went down. I didn't mean to touch it. Check my ass. Zhang Shantian scolded. Even a blind person at the door can see that my foot is still swollen. Do I need you to check it? Are you deliberately trying to mess with me? Let me tell you, don't think that I can't make a name for myself with the police watching me. Wait until I get over this, I will come to the hospital to settle the score with you. There was a reason why Zhang Shantian was so arrogant. His bad reputation was quite famous in the local area. The people in the hospital saw that he was injured and felt relieved. Moreover, he was suppressed by the police. There were people who wanted to hit him when he was down. Therefore, whether it was fixing his bone, putting on a cast, or applying medicine to stop the bleeding, they all did it violently. Even if some doctors and nurses only had this idea but did not have the guts, the two young police officers who detained Zhang Shantian would encourage them. After all, everyone hated him. Therefore, Zhang Shantian was messed with again and finally became anxious. Now, he had a psychological shadow. If anyone touched him even a little bit, he would turn hostile. First, he wanted to show off his power. Second, he wanted the people in the hospital to be afraid of him. Then, no one would take the opportunity to make things difficult for him. Zhang Shantian knew that with his injuries, he would need to be observed in the hospital for at least 3 to 5 days. He also secretly decided that he would stay in the hospital for at least 10 days to half a month. This scheming guy naturally had his own ideas. Although the people in the hospital would secretly make things difficult for him, at most, they would make things difficult for him and give him a little pain. If he was released from the hospital, he would definitely suffer greatly. But it would be different in 10 days to half a month. Bai Ying would take care of everything for him outside. He had also promised to give Bai Ying enough money. Bai Yingli would use the time he spent in the hospital to smooth things over. Maybe he would pick him up directly from the hospital in 10 days. If he could lie in the hospital and wait for things to end, why wouldn't he be happy? Why did he have to go out and be bullied? Moreover, Zhang Shantian was not going to let this matter end so easily. He still needed Bai Ying to prepare a plan to sue those who dared to make a move on him. He had to make those daring bastards pay. Only then would no one dare to go against him in the future. This was the reason why Zhang Shanmin had to succeed in this matter. Otherwise, his beating would have been in vain, and his status in Jianghu would have plummeted. If he didn't punish Su Yun and the others severely, how could he maintain his foothold? Who would put him, the leader of the local beggars sect, in their eyes? This nurse was also unlucky to have met Zhang Shanmin. He couldn't bear it any more and vented all his anger on her. It was as if she had done something bad to him. However, just as Zhang Shanmin was done being presumptuous, he was about to wake up from his beautiful dream. Someone pushed open the door of the ward. They were all uniformed police officers. They said to Zhang Shanmin rudely, "You want to get away with what you did?" When Zhang Shanling saw so many low-ranking police officers, her face revealed a look of disdain. What did these small fries know? They were nothing more than police officers. They didn't understand the relationship between Zhang Shanmin and the leaders at all. Who do you think you are? It's not up to you to talk to me. Do you know what relationship I have with your chief Niu? Zhang Shanmin sneered arrogantly. Then tell us, what relationship do you have with our chief Niu? The police officer secretly turned on the recording pen. Originally, they were going to investigate and question Zhang Shanmin after they brought him back. Now that Zhang Shanmin wanted to say it himself, he naturally wouldn't miss the opportunity. Do you know what the 4 iron ties are? Zhang Shanmin said seriously, the relationship between men isn't a normal one. I don't know. The police officer shook his head. You seem to be very close to our Chief Nyo. You don't say. I have a very close relationship with your Chief Nyo. Among the 4 iron ties, your Chief Nyo and I occupy 50% of the relationship. Zhang Shanmin said. The police officer smiled bitterly. It doesn't matter if you say it is 100%. I don't know what the 4 iron ties are. I also don't know how close you two are. We carried guns together, went through windows together, bought tickets together, and shared the loot together. Do you think your Chief Nyo and I are close enough? Zhang Shanmin snorted. Let me ask you, is there a stronger relationship than these 4 iron ties? We occupy 2 of them. Everyone in the room looked at each other. This person was really accurate. If Chief Nyo knew that his stupid teammate betrayed him like this, he would definitely be furious. Chief Nyo and Zhang Shanmin were at least 6 or 7 years apart. It was impossible for them to be classmates. Moreover, Zhang Shanmin was a beggar since young. It was impossible for her to carry a gun as a soldier. Therefore, the first 2 were absolutely impossible. The last 2, that kind of relationship really couldn't be described as iron. In the current situation, it could be said that these 2 people were grasshoppers on the same rope. Okay, since you said so, then we don't need to waste our breath. Chief Nyo will probably take the initiative to admit it. Your confessions can be considered to be a match. The police officer nodded and said seriously. Zhang Shanmin frowned. Wait a minute. What do you mean? What confessions? You still don't know, right? Chief Nyo has already taken the initiative to leave with the people from the Discipline Inspection Commission. He said that he will take the initiative to admit that he condoned your crime. The police officer said, moreover, your lawyer, Bai Ying, is now under the control of our police. He is now confessing all the evidence of your crimes that he knows. He is ready to expose you and fight for leniency from the organization. If Zhang Shanmin didn't have a few broken parts on his body, he would have jumped up and cursed. Are these 2 people King crazy? What is this? Are they playing with me? Even if they wanted to play with me, they didn't have to risk their lives like this. They were playing with their own lives. This was asking them to die together with him. Perish together? Crazy. Really crazy. This is going to explode. Zhang Shanmin, who had calmed down, suddenly put on a serious face. I don't even know what you mean. My crime evidence? What crime did I commit? I also said that you committed a crime. Don't pour dirty water on me. Yo, at this time, you still want to grit your teeth and bear it? The police officer said, Zhang Shanmin, you really can't bear it this time. Don't think of yourself as a leader. Those people under you who were begging for food to support you have all been gathered today. Many of them have things that are enough to sentence you to death. Zhang Shanmin's face was about to fall. You don't talk nonsense. What the beggars have on them has nothing to do with me. I have nothing to do with them at all. So many people have admitted it. You still don't want to admit it. What's the point of that? The police officer said. Then you found things in the house in the suburbs that are enough to sentence you to death 100 times. You still don't want to admit it? Do you want me to explain everything clearly? Zhang Shanmin was paralyzed. How could he be investigated like this? Why did the narcotic squad get involved? Zhang Shanmin, let me put it this way. You are already hopeless. Just bow down obediently, the police officer said. No way. Absolutely not. Your director Nyo would never betray me. He's digging his own grave, isn't he? You want to trick me, right? No way. I won't be fooled by you. Okay, then I will tell you one more thing to make you give up completely. The police officer didn't give Zhang Shanmin any face. Chief Nyo's daughter took a large amount of red ice and fell to her death from the 8th floor KTV that you have shares in. Now you know why Chief Nyo exposed you, right? He might not be a good leader, but he is a good father. He is willing to die with you to avenge his daughter. Now you understand, right? Zhong Shanmin's eyes were empty. He was speechless. He knew that he was completely done for this time. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.